Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our board meeting. Mr. Calavano.
Roll call. Mr. Charles.
Present.
Mrs. Labb.
Present.
Mrs. Mordecai.
Present.
Mr. Robertson.
Present.
Mrs. Schwartzbaum.
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's a lot.
Notice of meeting. Please take notice that adequate notice of this meeting has been provided for in the following manner. That a written notice was sent from the Office of the Secretary of the Board at 4 p.m. on January 5th, 2016. That said notice was sent by regular mail to the West Orange Township Clerk and the editors of the West Orange Chronicle and the Star Ledger. That said notice was posted in the lobby administration building of the Board of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Calavano. May I have a motion for the consideration of the closed and public meeting minutes of March 28th and April 12th, 2016?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Rutsky?
You want to read your statement?
Okay. Each year, it is the responsibility of the West Orange Board of Education to present to the public a school budget that meets the broad academic needs of 7,000 students, which incorporates all state, federal, and Department of Education mandates, funded and unfunded, has built-in allowances for health benefits, increases which average 10% annually, pension contributions, contractual salary obligations, maintaining infrastructure, increases in and out of district tuitions, upgrades to technology, upgrades and enhancements to security, providing transportation to 5,000 students daily, and provides professional development to our staff. The formulation of the budget is an intricate balancing act of introducing new curriculum, reassessing current programming, staffing, and educational priorities. We review current offerings, new requirements, as well as necessary upgrades to our 13 buildings. On March 21st, we presented our preliminary budget. The preliminary budget is a working document that provides structure, goals, and a blueprint for a final budget. The administration makes various recommendations, and the board must weigh the pros, cons, and effects of each recommendation. It is during this period that much analysis, planning, and introspection takes place as we prioritize all recommendations. Requirements for programming are addressed, and proposals for new course offerings are considered. Recommendations for upgrades to technology and security are discussed, as well as reassessing staffing needs. Our primary goal when formulating the budget is to avoid direct impact to the classroom while ensuring we continue to offer a comprehensive and quality education to our students. Eliminating staff positions is an extremely difficult task. We are fully cognizant that reduction of staff has monumental impact on the individual staff member and their family, and we do not take this responsibility lightly. It is imperative that the public understands that decisions are made on a broad scope, and by no means do we take such a decision based upon anything other than a purely budgetary and academic basis. For anyone to state or to suggest that a recommendation of a reassignment or potential staff cut on a preliminary budget would be retaliatory, politically driven, or malicious is patently false and irresponsible. Between the presentation of the preliminary budget and the vote on the final budget, an inordinate amount of work and analysis is completed by the superintendent, business administrator, and the board members. We are required by statute to stay within a 2% increase. However, there is an opportunity to use a banked cap. The board has chosen not to utilize this, as we are quite cognizant that both the county and municipal tax burdens will be increasing this year. As Mr. Rutsky and Mr. Calavano present our budget for the upcoming year, you will see that what was presented as a preliminary budget clearly was a working document, and through our efforts in the last 5 weeks, there are definitive modifications to the final budget. Mr. Rutsky.
Thank you. Just so everybody understands the process for the budget presentation, I will be behind that podium, Mr. Calavano will be behind this podium, and we will be going back and forth with the budget. When we are complete with the presentation, the board members will return and they will ask us questions that they have about the budget. At that point in time, we will then move on when the budget presentation and their questions are done. We'll move on to the next item, which is talking about the water in the district being tested, the HIB report, and then extracurricular reports that we will have throughout the district. There will be an opportunity for everybody in the room to make a comment if you choose so, and we will put a microphone in the middle of the chairs so it can be seen. This podium will be taken out of the way, and you'll be coming up and addressing the board at that time. It will take a little bit of time to get to that point, but I want everybody to understand what the process is. So at this time, if I can have the board go ahead and come out to their seats, and we'll go ahead with the presentation. So if I just tell you when the... Great. Okay, you heard from President Labb. Mark Robertson is our vice president, and 3 other board members, Ronnie Charles, Sandra Mordecai, and Earl Schwartzbaum. For those that do not know John Calavano, John is behind the podium over here, and obviously my name is Jeff Rutsky, the superintendent of schools. We're going to go over a glossary of budget terms. One of the things that we have learned over the years is very few individuals understand what go into making up a school budget. And understanding the terms as we move through the paperwork will help you understand some of those terms. So I'm going to turn it over now to Mr. Calavano.
So I'm going to skip around a little bit on the slide. The school budget's really made up of 3 parts. One is the general fund, and it's your operating budget to run the school district, day to day. Then you have your capital outlay, and that's considered like a Fund 12, and that's where you budget your equipment that's in excess of $2,000 or building improvements. And then you have debt service, which is a Fund 40, and debt service is for the previous referendums that were successfully approved. These are the repayment of the bonds for the principal interest, like your mortgage for your house. So there's your 3 components of a budget. The general fund budget, which is the operating budget, can only increase, the tax levy can only increase by 2% each year as a cap. We cannot exceed the 2%. However, if you don't use the entire 2%, that amount that you don't use actually can be banked for future budgets. So you have 3 years to use that additional money. And what that is it's not additional funding, it's the ability to increase your budget but raise the tax levy by the exact amount that you raise in the budget. Fund balance, that's a reserve for emergencies. We're also restricted to 2%. Years ago, it was somewhere around 10%, and then it went down to 6%, and now it's at 2%. And that's very important to have and very important to keep at 2% because, A, for cash flow reasons, you want to have the cash during the year to pay the bills and pay the payroll. There are school districts right now that when they get to a June payroll and June bills list to pay the bills, they actually have to borrow money so they can actually take care of that obligation. So our goal each year is to stay at the 2%. Now, of that 2%, we're budgeting $2.1 million in this budget to offset additional cuts. So that's another revenue source that we count on every year is that $2.1 million. Capital reserve, that's a special fund for maintenance projects. Here, you have 2 ways to fund it. One, you can actually budget for it during budget time, as we're in right now, but unfortunately, that's all part of the 2%, so a lot of districts cannot fit any part of that budget within the operating budget. So the other option is when you close your books on June 30th, you're able to transfer any balance you'd like that you have as a positive balance into this fund to use for future capital reserve projects. So we're currently utilizing the entire account that we have for capital reserve for next year. So at the end of next June, we will have a 0 balance in this fund. bank cap. Well, I spoke about bank cap for the 3 years. Actually, you'll see another slide that I'll talk about what the amount is that we're able to use. And again, you have 3 years to utilize the difference that you didn't use the entire tax levy.
Okay, next slide. There's a timeline that every district has to follow. You see the preliminary budget presentation to the community, which was March 21st. The preliminary budget submitted to the county was the next day on the 22nd. The county approval of the preliminary budget on the 30th, and tonight, obviously, is the final presentation. Please understand that we must provide a preliminary budget to the county. There is a date it has to be in, and the issue is, the most important issue is it has to have a zero budget deficit. So we cannot submit anything without. Next slide, please. There's a lot of factors that go into planning a school budget. We talked a little bit about the terms. Now here's some of the important factors that go into it. Safety and security, number one. Student achievement, number two, and a very, very close number two. Contracts and health benefits, curriculum and instruction, special education, staffing, program offerings, extracurricular, and athletics. Technology, which we'll talk about as we move through the presentation, professional development as well, enrollment projections for next year, class size, supplies, facilities and maintenance. We have a very large facility in the district, transportation, and lastly, mandated programs. One of the things that all districts are required to look to do is to have shared services. We have several shared services, and I'll go through them quickly. The Morris Union Jointure, we have children who attend the Morris Union Jointure, but we also work with them on professional development for our teachers. We have a partnership with the town where we're able to buy additional products at a cheaper rate, fuel, road salt. We have the facility usage where the town uses it, or uses our facilities, the emergency shelters, the lining of the fields, and obviously the student resource officer here in the building. The Sussex County Regional Transportation Cooperation is for the transportation. We have Ed Data, which is our purchasing. Middlesex, Hunterdon are both for purchasing reasons. We have Essex Regional Educational Service Commission for our non-public services that we're required to provide to our non-public schools. The ACES program helps us with our energy costs. When you have a large group of school districts made up, they give us a better rate. The insurance fund, which is the New Jersey School Insurance Group. And then last but not least, the state contracts that are required in the public schools. One of the very challenging pieces to a budget is the understanding that we have to provide services, but it's not funded by the state. It's mandated, but not funded. For instance, the Public Employees Retirement Sister contribution for the non-certificated staff members, this year it's a little under $2.2 million. It went up $171,894 from last year's budget to this year's budget. Park is a requirement. Unfortunately, they give us a small amount of money. It does not come close to offsetting the cost. It's about $385 additional dollars, $385,000 each year. Special education costs, things that are mandated by the state or the federal government that we must follow. The harassment, intimidation, and bullying law, special trainings, assemblies, and salaries that go into the HIB law. The professional development that we need but is mandated that we have, but no money is provided towards it. The teacher and principal evaluation, which is called Achieve NJ. Right now, we're spending approximately $25,000 on our Marsano program. All of this is required by the state or the federal government, but the district sees no money in offsetting those costs, and we're at about a $3 million cost to those unfunded programs. Mr. Calavano, would you like to take the next couple slides, please?
Sure. So here we have the revenue categories. Tax levy being your largest. This is not, something different in this community. It's throughout the state of New Jersey. Our tax levy is approximately 89% of our revenues received. And this number represents a 2% increase in the tax levy. We have state aid. Our state aid actually increased by $97,156. But guess what? For this large a size of a budget, $97,000 doesn't do anything for us. But we'll take it as long as it wasn't a cut this year. So that's a 1.4% increase from the current year. Then we have federal and state restricted aid. We receive funding for IDEA, No Child Left Behind. A lot of non-public school funding comes to us. It goes through our budget, and then we actually send the money to the non-public school for nursing, for technology, and for some other textbooks. Budgeted fund balance, $2.1 million. I spoke about that earlier. That's the money that we are taking from our fund balance to use as a revenue category to balance the budget. If we were not to use that 2.1, that would mean that we would have to cut additional $2.1 million from the budget. So our goal each year is when we close the school year is that we replenish that fund balance to our 2%, and then anything that's above that, we move that into our capital reserve fund for future capital projects. Tuition and miscellaneous, we do receive some students on a tuition basis. Building use, interest, we receive reimbursement for certain Medicaid services and activities. Withdrawal from capital reserve, that's $152,400. That's the money we're moving out to do capital projects. That'll leave that fund at a zero, and our total revenue being $143,666. Operating budget expenditures, here's your major categories in the school district's expenditures. Salary and benefits being number one. Again, across the board, across New Jersey, salary and benefits. So what we did here is we have the other categories, and we pulled all the salaries relating to all those categories, and we wanted to lump it together into the first category to see how much do we actually pay out in salary and benefits. We have special ed, not including transportation, because again, when we look at transportation, we want to see what the total transportation cost is, excluding salaries. The operation and maintenance, instruction and support, charter schools. We actually have 7 students attending 3 charter schools. We have to budget and pay tuition for those students. And our capital outlay, again, which is over $2,000 for equipment or building improvements. But this also includes an SDA assessment. So years ago, when we applied for grants for building projects, we would receive a grant from New Jersey, Department of Ed, and we would offset the cost. Well, a couple of years ago, I think it was 2010, they started having an issue repaying those bonds that they would borrow to give the money to the school districts. So now they assess the districts, not a penalty, but they assess a certain amount so we can help them pay back their principal and interest on their bonds. So we now have to take $114,991 out of our budget, leaving us with a grand total of $140,552,966 for the operating budget, again, which is just the general fund. Here we have the bank cap. So this is showing you that the purple is our 2%. That's the max that we're allowed to increase our tax levy. But we have bank cap of $1.362 million that we did not utilize last budget. So last school year, we were under cap by 1.3. And again, when you're under cap, you can utilize that amount of money for the next 3 years. So we had an opportunity to raise the additional taxes by 1.3, but as you heard earlier from the board president, that we chose not to do that, being conscious about the taxes throughout the municipality and the county. Here's the total tax levy. There's 2 pieces, one for the debt service and one for the operating budget, which is general fund. So when we're looking at raising taxes, that's our total, $133,854,378. Our debt service fund at the $5 million, and I can talk actually from this slide too, we actually received less money from the state. We actually received, in addition to state aid for our operating budget, we received state aid for our debt service fund. We're receiving actually less this year. We're going into the next budget year because we actually went out and we refinanced some of our outstanding bonds and our certificates of participation, and we were able to save approximately $200,000 by doing that. The state of New Jersey realized that since we refinance, well, we're going to reduce your debt service payment that we give you on an annual basis. So they reduced it for the following year. But when we looked at refinancing those bonds, we're actually saved over a period of time about $2.3 million in debt service by refinancing. So I think it was definitely worth our benefit by refinancing.
So, Mr. Calavano, let me just add to that. To be really clear on this, the state penalized us for trying to save money by refinancing the bonds. And we were able to save the community money each year. But because the state saw that, they thought, well, we don't need to give you as much money because you have more money now by refinancing, which obviously seems very unfair to us when it comes to trying to save the taxpayers some money.
The other thing we also did when we restructured the payment schedule for the next 15, 20 years, we tried to make it level. We had a debt service schedule where it was peaking and it was up and down every other year, so now we actually have a level schedule that we can follow. We're looking at a piece of, I believe it's school bonds that are still callable to refinance this coming summer. So hopefully we'll be able to achieve some additional savings. Here's the tax levy comparison. So what we're showing here is the current year going to the proposed year for the general fund and debt service. As you can see, general fund is at the 2%, and debt service fund is decreased by 1.63. So our overall tax levy is 1.86% increase. Here's a little chart that will try to explain on how taxes are struck. Taxes are based on a calendar year, so it's 2016. But within that calendar year, you have 2 school years. You have the old school year from January to June, and then you have the new year coming from July to December. So you take half of the levy from 15-16, which is the current year, and half of the proposed year, and you come up with a total tax for 2016 of $132,632, and this is how the taxes are struck based on that number.
Okay, we're going to invite our Director of Buildings and Grounds, Bob Ziggy, up to the podium. Bob is going to do a little presentation on the capital projects of what he was able to get accomplished this year. We're just going to pull this up very quickly. No, go back, please. We just need to pull up the presentation. That's all right, no problem.
What we've done over the last 5 years, we've done a presentation with before and after photos to show the public of what we're actually doing and seeing the significant difference in the projects and where our capital money is going. So most of our work is done with the funding that we get through the general fund, and that is for some repairs of asphalt and concrete, the asbestos that we have in the district that we're still removing. We have a couple of other projects that we'll show you now that we've done once the PowerPoint presentation gets up there. Okay, this was the high school roof over the PVW gym. You can see the condition of the roof. This was before, and this is the roof after. So a significant difference, and no more leaks. The St. Cloud retaining wall was starting to fall apart, and we did the repairs, and consequently the wall is saved. Some more areas of the wall on the other side, and then the repairs. The retaining wall at the administration building is starting to fall down. That fence on top was creating a lot of issues for us, and we repaired that wall. And there's the after picture. We put a guardrail up instead of the fence and repaired the wall. The auto shop roof, you can see that it was a tin roof. Over the years has deteriorated with the rust, and we did a restoration of that roof this year. You can see how bad the joints were. And that's where we're getting our leaks, and there's the replacement roof and the restoration. Things that the public doesn't see because they're out of sight, out of mind. The administration building, big project there. We had a lot of critters up in the attic because they had a lot of pathways getting into the soffits. Our roof was leaking, the chimneys are starting to fall apart, and a project that was well overdue. Seeing just different shots of that roof. Okay, there was the construction when we started ripping it off. The wood underneath, the underlayment was deteriorated, so we had an extra cost there to put plywood down and make the roof structurally sound. And there's the finished product. You show the backside there, little sun glare, but the gutters all were replaced, the valleys in the roof, all the shingles, the roof snow guards were all replaced, and most importantly, the chimneys with chimney caps were replaced, and now we have a sound roof on the administration building. The roof over at Gregory School before, our stairwells in the back were leaking for many, many years. We were putting Band-Aids on an open wound, and we finally replaced the roof there. And there's the after. Just giving you a flavor for some of the projects.
Thank you, Mr. Ziggy. So before we get into some of the most important slides of the presentation, which talks about the cuts and the additions to the budget, I need to make sure that everybody understands that this board is very, very committed to every student and every staff. And if you don't commit to the staff, then the students are not going to be as successful as they can be. So having programs that are successful for the teachers will result in students having success. And the same thing with putting programs into place for kids that need additional support is something that's vital, and this district has always done very, very well. This is a board, there's only one brand new board member on here, and Mr. Schwartzbaum comes with an extensive background in finance and managing different kind of operations. So this is a board who clearly understands what the district vision has been for a long time and the importance of making sure we understood what President Lab was saying early on with keeping staff, reinstating staff. And I said to you about the preliminary budget. The preliminary budget has to be sent to the county with a zero deficit. It is preliminary for that purpose. And you have to get down. We were just under a $4 million deficit, 3.9 to be exact. And we had to draw that all the way down. So when Mr. Calavano presents the final budget, that it has a zero balance to it as far as the deficit. Please understand that you don't have to say or do anything for this board. They are very committed to continuing what needs to be done. And I promise you that. And we would have many, many conversations about how are we going to do this? How are we going to continue to support the kids, support the staff, and do what needs to be done to keep people in place? Emails, letters, things of that nature. Please understand that doesn't change their perspective. Their goal in mind is not to have to be here, not to have to go through multiple meetings to try to figure out how we're going to get down to zero. That's what last year was much easier because we were able to raise the taxes less than a 1% increase. Now, some would say, well, why do you have to raise the taxes at all? Because to keep quality staff, quality programs, and support kids and staff, you have to continue to stay up with the cost of living. And based on that, we're living a 2% cap. 2% doesn't go a long ways. And if you think about that, when you have health benefits coming in this year, what we're planning for, 16, 17, we were projected at 12%. We were able to get it down to 10%. And that still wasn't enough because we had 19 individuals that were going to be cut in the preliminary budget. 19. I can tell you in the next few slides, that number is greatly reduced. There was nobody on the board, or myself or Mr. Calavano, that wanted to have anybody. But when you're faced with the 2% cap and continuing health cost increases, continuing to $178,000 this year just on PERS contributions for non-certificated. That didn't happen last year. Unexpected costs make budgeting very, very challenging. So again, if you take nothing else away from tonight, understand that this board is completely committed every year to providing what we're recommending to them. And when I'm sitting talking to principals and supervisors from the beginning of the summer through the time we begin the process in December for the budget, we're talking about programs that we've identified that will help children and will help staff teach them so they're not scrambling and doing all of these things on their own. So I just want you to pay attention to 19 and what it's down to now. It's down to 6. And there's not one person that's currently in the district that's going to be out of a teaching job. Not one. And it has nothing to do with anything as far as letters and emails and phone calls, nothing. It's that we all felt this is what we need to do. We really have a phenomenal district. And when you start carving away at that, that's when things start to happen. And unfortunately, please realize, this is not the end of budget challenges. We still live in a 2% cap. We have to make sure that people get raises. We have to make sure that we're putting programs into place, and on and on and on. And health care costs are not stopping. We went out and changed our health broker because we were not satisfied with the past health broker who never shopped the health benefits. We've always been with Horizon, always. And Horizon said, well, we're just going to raise it this amount, and the district never did anything about it because that's what we did. And we no longer can live in that world because we can't afford it, or the 19 people would be losing their job if we went with what they said the cost of the increase is going to be. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide. We're losing 1 in-house counsel, 1 custodial supervisor, 2 teachers, 1 assistant coach, and 1 athletic equipment manager. So let me take this a little farther. We have a custodial supervisor that is not losing his job. He's going to be offered another job. We're reducing the custodial supervisor position. The 2 teachers are not losing their job. They're going to be offered another job based on attrition, meaning people are retiring or being non-renewed. The assistant coach was not filled for this current school year that we're in right now and will not be filled for next school year as well. And lastly, the athletic equipment manager is related to the football program, which that was originally cut out a couple of years ago, and they put it back in, and unfortunately, we have to take it back out. Now, as far as programs, as far as classes, 1 class, the 7th grade reading class, which those of you that are in middle school, particularly 7th grade, you understand that this class was left in when we changed over to the reading and writing workshop. And we have to understand, too, that you can't teach in isolation. You cannot teach anything in isolation. It is not effective. So we have Readers and Writers Workshop in place, and we are honing that program now that we're into it for several years. An AB program in the reading course is not effective, nor is it effective that it's only for 1 semester. So the other semester is backed up to computer programming. And there's been a lot of research in this district done for that class in particular to find out, is this something that we can absorb without taking a hit? And the majority of the answers were yes. It can go away, and the students will continue to get the quality reading and writing instruction through the Reading and Writing English Language Arts program. Next slide, please. We will maintain similar class sizes. We're going to join with the New Jersey School Board Association grant writing, which will allow us to draw more money in to the district to do certain things that maybe in the past the budget could support. We will not be able to support those kinds of things through the program. As far as adding, we have 1 full-time principal for the Early Learning Center and the district evaluations. We originally, back in December, when I made my initial proposal to the Board of Education, I had an assistant principal built into the budget for Pleasantdale Elementary School. Why? Because they have the 2nd largest staff in the district, only 2nd to this high school. They have the preschool in the elementary where everybody else is K through 5. And it is a tremendous challenge for Dr. Polera, who does a superb job, and her staff that does a superb job. But we have to stop the quantity over the quality. And so that position, unfortunately, could not be supported. And we've come up where we're able to provide Dr. Polero with some support for the preschool program and the hundreds of evaluations that people have to do year in and year out. There are some specific individuals that have entirely too many evaluations. And again, we want to turn it into quality, not quantity. Getting back into the classroom after you've had a post-conference with a teacher a week or two later to see how things are going, to see how things have been implemented, to see if they've been implemented, and to provide support for that teacher or teachers. When you have 100 observations, that is almost impossible to do. And we have a phenomenal group of administrators in this district, and they work very hard to try and take care of the teachers and the quality of teaching and learning while also doing the rest of their job. One full-time dance teacher, I heard somebody say to me, "Are you kidding? A dance program?" Well, for those that aren't aware, we're required through the Visual and Performing Arts to have a program to offer the class. And we've been completely out of compliance by offering it through the STEP team or our musicals. It can no longer happen. It's required. Not to mention the diversity that we have in this district and the phenomenal program we already know through the Boys and Girls STEP team, how great this would be at an offering in the high school. So it's not that we're saying this is more important than something else. It's a requirement. Basic skills instruction. I've heard for a year and a half that we can't offer kids who need support at the elementary level because we don't have enough staff. And the way I make decisions is I think of my own 3 children, and I think of every kid in this district, and if it's not good enough for my own kids, it's not good enough for the kids in this district. And when somebody tells me that we can't offer students and the primary levels, K1 and 2, who clearly are behind, we can't give you additional support because we don't have the staffing, I think that is a travesty. There's no grades more important than K1 and 2, and kudos to those grade level teachers for identifying deficiencies and making sure that they get the support they need. So when they hit 3rd grade, either this is an anomaly that they really did not show signs for 3 years, or we get them the support and start fixing those problems so they can get on grade level and do what needs to be done. The Wilson Foundation Phonics Program. It's been in the district in the past. Several years ago, it was taken out. One of the biggest issues right now is we have overload, initiative overload, and we need to try and minimize what we're doing as far as the quality time for every teacher in the district. One of the things is when you have to make teachers go out and find resources themselves or as a grade level, and put those things together to address something, that there's phenomenal programs out there to address it. It takes time away that it can be used in a more efficient and more effective way. So bringing a program in that's systematic, not to mention it will be done the same way in 7 schools for grades K, 1, and 2. And we will address the phonics problem that we have so the students come up through those 3 grade levels and have the skill base they need to go in. It does not address comprehension. It never was set out to address comprehension. Guided reading addresses comprehension. Foundations is a program for phonics. And then lastly, the Orton-Gillingham program. Some of you I know are enrolled in the program, and it's a phenomenal program. It's a master's degree program through FDU. It is a very intense program that teaches teachers, and we will utilize it for our special education department. It teaches the teachers how to intensely work with kids who are several grade levels behind in their reading. And this goes back to my original statement that if this is my child, and I looked at data across the district, I looked at it last summer. It was too late for me to look at it for this current budget, or I would have put it in. This is a program that helps teachers to know really high-level skills to help kids, to grow in their reading capacity. We have many students, many, that are far below where they need to be, and they have not made the progress we need them to make year after year. That is no negative reflection on the child study team members or the special education or general education teachers in this district. What it is a program to help those individuals. And we will have one representative who has volunteered, which will have this program paid for them. The Board of Education will be paying for this program, and they have to show up. It's a 2 semesters, just like a college master's degree, and it will be done in the district. They will learn phenomenal skills, and then they will go back in the following year. Their principals will utilize them in the capacity to help kids that are classified with reading challenges. Next slide, please. Technology. We've been lacking at the elementary school. We began with the high school, then worked down to middle school, and now it's the elementary time. 3 through 12 next year will have a one-to-one Chromebook initiative. The teachers at the elementary level, let me back up, the 6th grade students, right now they have laptops to use. Next year, they will have a brand new Chromebook. Those laptops will be moved down, and we'll be utilizing them in our K through 2 classrooms. So our K2 classrooms, every classroom will have a bank of 5 computers that are hardwired in their room. No longer will you have to line kids up, walk kids down the hallway, sit kids in the computer lab, take 10 minutes to log them on, and then the period's over 10 minutes later, and it takes 5 minutes to get back to the classroom. You will have it in your room to have centers, and you will move kids in and out of those computers as you feel needed to do whatever needs to be done. The staff will have new laptops at the elementary level. All the other staff members now have currently 6 through 12 have a laptop. Elementary, you will have yours. We're looking to have it available for you in August. If you'd like to come in during the August break, pick it up, take it home, start utilizing it. You can do that. Otherwise, it'll be available for you the first week of school. What's really important is that we have to realize that if we do it well in elementary, the middle and high are going to be even better than what they are right now. And so we get programs at the elementary level, we get the solid foundation there, we get the technology there, and the teachers have access to do what you want to do. And I know it's been very hard this year because you've been asked to do things and you don't have what you need to do it well. So next year, that's not going to be an issue. You're going to see in a couple slides the professional development that's going to go behind a lot of these programs. We're going to make sure that iPads are bought for certain students that need the iPad, and that Google Docs will be provided for every student in grades 3 through 5. Also, to enhance our safety and security, we'll be continuing to add the security cameras, getting rid of obsolete cameras in this building, all the middle schools, and all the elementary schools, as well as we're utilizing what's called grid security. It's a brand new program that was purchased about 3 months ago. I got notification the other day that they will be available to us. The bottom line is, it's what they use, that's what the military uses when they're trying to invade a certain area. It's a simple computer piece that is an overlay of a school. So it has every level. It's laid out by color, and then the surrounding parts of the school are completely laid out. So if a police officer, fireman, EMS worker, etc., will be coming to help us in a time of, unfortunately and hopefully never, a crisis, they would be able to see it as they're coming to the district, as they're coming to the school, whatever school it would be, and they're coming from Orange, or they're coming from South Orange, Maplewood. They would have that pulled up in their computers and know that we have a perpetrator on this floor, this level, and they can see where the person is. So the days of having to convene outside personnel from other communities are limited. So when they come to it, there's a quick 30-second, it's quadrant G3, there's where the problem is, and I need you to go to the following location to secure the parent pickup and they know exactly what needs to be done. It's instantaneous within seconds, and everybody is off and doing what they need to do. And understand that this is purchased this year, and there are many districts that are behind us on this, but I can tell you the state police have adopted it, and actually there's national news on it right now that many of the law enforcement across the country are going to be utilizing it because it's very easy to use and very effective in what it does. Next slide, please. New course of study, Intro to Journalism, Marketing, Advertising Apps, Newspaper One, The World of Wall Street, Literary Study of Rock and Hip Hop. Please understand what this is. This is, you're looking at the literary piece to hip hop and rock through language arts. This taps right into what kids love to do. So we're going to teach language arts through this. And lastly, the elements of dance. Textbooks, social studies, the AP US History and the AP World History, honors chemistry, interior design A and B, early childhood and family studies, and concert band grades 4 through 12. There's 2 pages of PD. I'm going to just go quickly through them and talk about a couple I discussed earlier. Differentiated instruction is by far the most important. I believe it takes between 5 and 10 years to truly understand how to differentiate for the multiple needs in every single classroom. We need to keep working at it. Every district's priority should be DI. Technology infusion across the curriculum. This is something we have to focus on. Kids love, they're motivated by the technology, but it can't be the end-all, be-all. We have to use it effectively. Technology is effective when it's put into place where it's appropriate. Next-gen science standards, 6 through 12 is this year. The following year is elementary. Following September. This September is 6-12. Reading and writing across the curriculum. Reading and writing workshop. We've been working on it. We'll continue. Guided reading. Leveled libraries. I had a great conversation with 2 intervention specialists the other day that gave me some really wonderful tips, and I was talking to the 2 language arts supervisors, and they totally agreed. So we're going to be talking to the teachers about maybe some of these materials we could adjust based on what their recommendation is. So it was very, very important what they shared with us. Literacy instruction utilizing novels. Some of the best way to teach reading and writing skills is through the novels, and there's a lot that goes into that. And lastly, the honors and advanced placement courses, continuing to improve and hopefully have students improve in those areas. Co-teaching training for our gen ed and special ed, more inclusion across all the schools, but you have to have it. It's like a great marriage. When 2 teachers are working together and you don't know which one is which, and the instruction is seamless. Lots of training has been going on. Lots of training will continue to go on. Least restricted environment training. There's a whole piece that we have to help everybody understand about. Yes, we know what LRE means, but what does it mean when a child is in the least restrictive environment? ABA training for our certain special education teachers, continuing to work with them so they have additional skills to help our students, as well as the APA training, which is part of the DLM. Math instruction, pre-algebra and algebra readiness at the middle schools. Obviously, our 8th grade algebra is Algebra 1 now, pre-algebra in 7th grade. We need to continue to work to make sure that we're utilizing it effectively. Departmentalization, grades 4 and 5. That'll be kicking in September. Scope and sequence for each subject and Common Core standards, and the drastic word of park. All of those things we need to continue to work on. Next slide, please. You'll notice in red at the bottom, the increase for this year is $124.04. If the bank cap was used, it would have gone up $40 to $164.04. And what was really clear by the board is that we also have to remember all of the people who live in this town, that the taxes continue to rise. We've got to stop the bleeding, and we've got to find the balance of keeping a great school district, keeping great people in the school district, but also being cognizant to the taxpayers that we got to find a way to try to slow the trend. You'll notice that it's $10.34 per month. Next slide, please. Okay, that is the presentation. As I said before, what will happen is the board will come back to their seats, They will ask myself and Mr. Calavano any questions they have. Eventually, you will obviously have a chance. There'll be a microphone right in the middle to come up and ask us any questions you might have. Mr. Calavano, anything final?
Yeah, I just wanted to announce that the presentation will be on the website tomorrow. In addition to the, I have a tax calculator on there, so you can go in and put your own assessment into the tax calculator, and it'll tell you what your increase is going to be regarding this upcoming school budget. And then hopefully by Wednesday, I'll have the user-friendly budget. I have to do some work in the DOE software, and once the county unlocks that, I'll make that update tomorrow. If I can get it done by the end of tomorrow, I'll post that too.
Okay, so we're just going to take a minute here to transition in. Board members, please come on back up.
Thank you, Mr. Rutsky, Mr. Calavano, and Mr. Siggy for the presentation. As I had discussed earlier, we were required to put in a preliminary budget. The budget was subject to review. As you saw tonight, there were many changes to the budget from what was presented 5 weeks ago. This was done through a lot of initiative, basically blood, sweat, and tears on the board's part. We put in a lot of hours. There was creative stuff going on. For instance, Mr. Rutsky spoke about the health broker. By changing the health broker, we were able to save $600,000 in what would have been the premium. By having that savings of $600,000, we were able to reinstate or to not cut what was proposed 5 weeks ago. I see the gentlemen from Unico are here this evening, and I thank you for coming. Just as you saw, the Italian program is intact. The program was not cut. And I want to tell you what happened. I'm glad you're happy. I just want you to know what happened. I received a communication from General Counsel of Italy, Francesco Gennardi, who is new to the United States. He's been here for about 3 or 4 weeks, from what I understand. We had a lovely conversation, along with Professor Carlo Divoli from his office. You gentlemen don't know me, but I've been told that sometimes I have what they call chutzpah. While I was on the phone with him, I asked him for a grant. He provided a grant to us. With the grant that the General Counsel was so generously able to provide to us, he gave us a grant for 3 years. So therefore, the 8th grade program is intact. It will not be cut. I just wanted you to understand how that came about. Sometimes my mother always said, if you don't ask, you don't get. So I always ask. Most of the time I don't get, but he came through. Actually, Mr., and I know I'm butchering his name and I apologize, General Counsel Gennardi is going to be coming to West Orange. He wants to come meet us. He wants to see our program. He has not made his official state visit yet to New Jersey, and we're working out the details. So when he comes, I'll certainly let you know. It sounds like it's going to be a really nice visit. So again, that's how the Italian program is intact, just as I mentioned. As far as bank cap and cuts, most of our neighbors have used their bank cap this year. I was in touch with my colleague from Maplewood South Orange. They're using their entire bank cap, and they are still, as of their preliminary budget, cutting over 30 positions. Everybody's kind of in the same boat, but I think from what we were able to come together with, what was presented to you this evening, you saw the 19 shrunk down to 6, and of the 6, no teaching positions have been cut. I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. They're going to touch on certain points, and then afterwards I'm going to ask if there are any questions from the floor. I know you had mentioned that there's going to be a microphone set up. We will limit conversation, as we normally do in all of our budget meetings, or all of our meetings actually, to 3 minutes, and then the board will respond in total at the end of that discussion. First, I'd like to turn the floor over to my colleague, Mr. Charles.
Thank you, Madam President. My comments are surrounding the budget philosophy that we adopted last year. And this year, for those who don't know, we adopted last year a zero-based budgeting philosophy, and we adopted that as well this year. And what that basically means, there's 2 main points. That means that every item in the budget rather than the changes in the traditional budget, must be approved. The second part of it, it requires every line item to be evaluated starting at zero, hence the name zero-based. So if the program was funded for a previous year of $50,000, we don't start at $50,000 and we add up. We start at zero, and each line item starts at zero. When we review the programs that are being suggested in the proposal of the budget, the board looks to either continue, discontinue, or add programs based on a whole slew of data. There's data that we get from the administration. There's data that we get through our research to whether to fund an item or a program or not. And the board looks at this data, and then we decide, well, we want to fund the program or not. I want to publicly thank the supervisors, the directors, the principals, the teachers, and the staff over the last few months, and my colleagues as well, for working with the administration. This is, a 5-month process, meeting sometimes 3 or 4 nights a week, 7, 8 hours a time. So it's really an in-depth process. So my comment on the Italian, the continuation of the Italian program, I certainly support that. My children are involved in the program. I want to thank Ms. Lab for reaching out for the consulate and securing a grant which will improve the program over the next 3 or 4 years. And so I think we're headed in the right direction in that. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Mr. Schwartzbaum.
Thank you. I think it's very, very important that everyone understands that the goal of the board regarding the budget is to maintain and to continue improving the education. At the same time, to be fiscally responsible to everyone in the town, as well as the students. We as a board spent numerous hours individually and collectively reviewing the budget in detail. As was indicated and said, no teacher is going to lose their position. Everyone will be reassigned. We really took this very, very seriously, that we could have very easily just sat back and said, we have to cut positions, but we took a different route. We challenged the superintendent and the business administrator and said, in regarding to health insurance, we can't accept the fact that insurance is going up 12%. We need to make sure we have to go back to the broker and ask them to shop. And we went from 12% to 10% to 8%. That was a very different way of doing business than historically was done in the district. And we were successful because we challenged. In addition, in regard to the Italian program, no one wants to cut the position that the 8th grade, the 7th and 8th grade language. We got a letter, and we turned around and said, you know what, as President Laub said, let's go back to the Italian consulate and ask them. It's important, but help us fund. And guess what? They did. I give President Laub a lot of credit. We asked, and we got it. So it's very, very important. We take this very, very seriously, that we as board members understand that we have to be leaders. It's never easy to be a leader. We need to make difficult decisions, but we are also very cognizant and compassionate to the fact that every decision impacts individuals. It never changes. It's always an individual. And I really must say that I think we did a very good job, that we were able to mitigate all the cuts. And I really give the superintendent and the business administration, as well as all the teachers, a lot of credit.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartzbaum. Mr. Robertson.
Thank you, President Labb. First, I just want to say that as I look out at the sea of teachers, I appreciate your passion, your unity, your camaraderie. And it's been a great challenge, as you've heard from my colleagues, to work through what was nearly a $4 million deficit and to still deliver on our promise to you and to our students. Student achievement is paramount. That is our number one reason, certainly after providing safety and security. Student achievement is the number one reason that we're here. And you are our product. You are the product, the resource, our brain trust. And, you know, you deserve the resources and the support that we can give you. And that brings me to my first point. One of the things that this budget helps to fund from a technological standpoint is more support. Our teachers are trying to infuse technology and bring tools like the Prezi and the Voki and website templates and all these different ways to infuse technology while also teaching our kids basic technological skills, from keyboarding to how to utilize various online resources, starting from, and we really need to start this firmly from K on up. And you deserve the resources to do that. So one of the things this budget will ensure is that all elementary school teachers will have laptops to do that with. It sounds absurd that you didn't before. We're going to make sure that you do. You deserve the resources. You deserve the support. Number two, you see the purchase of Chromebooks. We're in an age of, as you know better than I, of digital learning, of digital testing, of where everything is immersed in technology or resourced through technology, discovered through technology, as well as through experiential means. And, you know, the purchase of the laptops, the purchase of the Chromebooks is going to enable us to achieve what some of the top ranked districts and schools, public and private, in our state have already achieved, and that is one-to-one computer to child. And for children who don't have access to an up-to-date computer at home, this is also going to empower them. So this was a dream, this was a goal, this is where we need to be in this technological age, and will help us to be competitive, to achieve what I've always called competitive excellence. It's another step forward. Additionally, you know, as we try to balance all these budgetary needs and requirements, we had to take a second look at the fact that we can't continue to rely purely on federal and state dollars, which have declined continuously for the past decade. Nor can we continue to simply increase taxes on our taxpayers. So we've made a recommitment to fund development, to going out there and trying to secure partnerships and grants through foundations, through corporations, and to really fund areas that we still need to grow in. We've still yet to achieve our goals when it comes to not just technological integration, but engineering, math, and science enrichment for all students. Really bolstering our engineering, science, and math high aptitude, gifted and talented efforts. There's so many areas that we have not yet funded, where actually there are teachers out here who have created curricula for it already. And fund development can help us to achieve those goals. And I'm not going to go through the long list, but there's so many areas that we have yet to fund that are essential to our children being competitive, being successful in their in attaining college and in pursuing careers. There are so many elements that are successful to you being able to fulfill everything that you can do as a teacher. And we appreciate your patience throughout the process, but it has been a process. And we look forward to continuing to provide the support in any way that we can so that we can all help our students to achieve their very best. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. Ms. Mordecai.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to see all of you here. I know many of you are teachers, but I also see some parents in the audience wearing red in support of the faculty and staff. I want to say thank you to the administration, Superintendent Rusky, Mr. Calavano, Mr. Siggy, and all the department heads and the principals who worked really hard to put this budget together the second year that we're doing zero-based budgeting. Just want to reiterate that the board worked really hard. We did our due diligence. We tried to find ways to cut out of the budget what wasn't necessary, things we didn't need, clock repairs and some other things that we decided we could wait on. We maximized shared services with various municipal entities, ACs, Middlesex and Hunterdon County Commission services. We also worked really hard to find the balance between the needs of our students and the burden on the taxpayers. Every day, every time we come here to the Board of Ed meeting, every couple weeks or sometimes twice in 1 week, we spend long hours just going over the budget line by line, making sure that we're working hard for you and for the students so that we don't cut programs. I just wanted to add that a few years ago, when our budget was struck down, it was voted down, we lost $6 million in funding, and we cut about 94 faculty and staff. We've worked really, really hard since then to make sure that doesn't happen. So when we struck this budget first and we were looking at 19 cuts, we tried our very best to find ways, because we're very cognizant of the hard work you do, and we're very sensitive to the district as well. We know that we have very qualified, highly qualified staff, so we have also continued to make sure that we're committed to professional development. As you heard tonight, that we have a program in place where teachers will be earning master's degree credits from Fairleigh Dickinson University. So we make sure that we maintain the quality of faculty and staff that we have as well with our budget. So I just hope that you know that we truly appreciate you coming out tonight. And we heard from many of you. We received many letters and emails and phone calls from our neighbors or friends. And thank you for coming out. We worked really hard. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Mordecai. Mr. Rutsky, I'm going to turn this back over to you to finish up the superintendent's report, and then we will have questions from the public on the agenda.
Sure. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is just a very brief discussion. A letter was sent home to our parents and sent to the staff as well, just to let them know that we will be testing all the water in the district. And what's important is that would include the water fountains, the sinks in the classrooms, the kitchens, the faculty rooms, and the health offices. They were able to complete 7 schools this past weekend. They will finish up the rest of the schools. Now, that's also the 11 schools plus central office and the bus depot. So 13 total. By the end of Sunday, they will have them all completed. We will be looking at a 2 to 3 week turnaround from the time that they pull the water sample and then have it actually tested. It's about a 2 to 3 week turnaround there. But it's important, again, the letter 15, we want to make sure that the parents and the staff realize this is just out of safety reasons to test it. We had an issue last year with Edison. We tested Edison and Roosevelt. We found one fountain that did not come back under the EPA guidelines. We immediately shut it down. Mr. Ziggy and his staff took care of that immediately and changed it out, put a filter on, tested it again, and it was very good. It passed the EPA standards. So I really want to send a shout out because Mr. Ziggy turned this around very quickly. We had the meeting on Friday with the understanding we would start the following weekend, and we were able to do it this weekend. So kudos to Mr. Ziggy on pulling that off in one day, because it was a lot of prep work to make sure. And the important part that everybody understands is we're doing it on the weekends because the water, we want it to be stagnant for 8 hours, and we get a real result with that. Instead of it being used all the time and being flushed, there's a stagnant piece of it. So thank you, Mr. Ziggy, and I think it's important that we realize not every district's doing this, but we feel that we need it to be done.
It needs to be said also that we owe a huge thanks to Assemblyman John McKeon's office. We were originally presented with quotes between $13,000 and $45,000 to test the waters in the district, and what I've since come to learn is there's somewhat of some price gouging going on right now because school districts are all in this predicament of having to test the waters. I reached out to Assemblyman McKeon's office. They spoke to Agra, is that the name of the company?
That's correct.
Agra, yes, Agra.
And they gave us a very, very affordable, thorough testing plan that came out to a maximum of $5,500. So again, I thank Assemblyman McKeon's office for helping us out here.
Just one final note on that. We get the results back and we're able to sit down with Mr. Ziggy and his staff. We will make those results available to everybody who wants to see them.
Mr. Charles?
I have a question, Mr. Rutsky. If something comes back outside the guidelines, the safety guidelines, it's usually an indication that the water's safe, but there's something to do with the hardware, right? So, because I don't want any panic in the school system that people thinking it's the water system. It's usually something that's in the pipes need to be changed or the fountain itself.
Let me bring Mr. Ziggy up since he's here, because he's going to tell you about the process. Come on, Mr. Ziggy. Is this podium okay, Lauren? Please.
Okay. Testing, good. Okay. This was a very arduous process to get it to where we are right now. You're absolutely right, Mr. Charles. The fixture usually is the culprit in the problem with the lead in the water. Okay, we tested 3 years ago, and we found no lead in our water in all of our kitchens. We had one last year, and we will test. The first draw is on the fixture itself. When they come in, they do a second draw, 30 seconds, which is the piping, and then they determine if we have well, we're within the guidelines of the EPA. We follow the EPA standard that's been adopted by the New Jersey DEP. Once we find out that there is a problem with any of the fixtures, we close them down immediately. We'll let known as soon as those results are done. They don't wait for the final process for all of the fixtures to be tested in the district. As soon as they find out, we're notified, we will shut that down. We'll take remedial action. Most times, and this is historic, that it is the fixture can be changed out. More times than not, we put a filter on just as a safeguard. If it's any of the piping, we do not change piping out. We'll put a filter on the system so that the end result, the fixture that is producing that water, will be filtered before anyone drinks it. So we feel good that our past tests have come back very positive, that they have not shown any lead, and we think that we're going to come out pretty good. Not saying that we're not going to have any. I think we're going to have some based on the age of our buildings, but I think it'll be minimal.
Okay. Thank you.
Sandra?
Mr. Rutsky, is it correct to say that the state does not require schools to test the water, and we've been ahead of the game for years?
That's correct. They do not, and we have been. We've been on a cycle for 3 or 4 years now that we've been testing just to make sure that the water's safe. Yes.
I'm shocked that the state doesn't require public schools to test the water. Truly shocked.
It's very, very expensive to do, and until the Newark issue came up, I think that there was a lot of just kind of everything is fine.
Yeah. I guess everyone woke up once we heard of what was happening in Flint, Michigan, and now Newark. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rutsky?
Okay, I'm just going to pass out the HIB report. I'll give you a second to look at it. For those in the audience, just so you understand that every board meeting we are required to present to the board a list of any HIB investigation and whether or not that was a founded case or not, and anything that falls from tomorrow to the next board meeting would be on the next board list. Any questions from the board members?
No, thanks.
No, thank you.
Mr. Schwartzbaum, any questions?
No.
Okay. And lastly, I just want to do a little report on athletics, extracurricular, just an update on our athletic teams. Our baseball team is 7-3. Our boys tennis is 1-5. Softball is 4-7. Boys track 3-0. Girls track 2-1. Golf 0-4. And our lacrosse team is 5-4 right now. Couple of extracurricular pieces. A very special thank you to the West Orange Women's Club. They donated $50,000 to the West Orange Scholarship Fund. A very, very special thank you to them. Our West Orange High School Percussion Ensemble won their division at the U.S. Band Winter Championships this past weekend. Anyone who has a kindergarten open house is next Monday, May 2nd at 7 p.m. It's a little different this year that each building will be presenting their own kindergarten open house because each building is a little unique, so we want to make sure that it highlights the individual building. Just a couple of other from the science department. We've had some really tremendous news recently. Stephanie Soriano and the staff, just a phenomenal job. Dr. Brandt, 10 IMS students were admitted to Stevens Institute of Technology for their engineering school already, 10 already. Just phenomenal. If you're not aware of that, yeah, it's really great stuff. Stevens is ranked 7th in the nation for the top 10 engineering schools in the United States. We have 10 kids in already. We also have something unique at Liberty and Roosevelt. We have 3 teams that are finalists in what's called the Bright Schools competition, 7th and 8th grade kids, and they're doing something between looking at sleep patterns between light sleep and student health and performance. We have 3 teams that are going off to the finalists. There was 50 nationwide. We have 3 of them. 1 is from Liberty and 2 from Roosevelt. Really phenomenal for those kids. For our 6th grade, for our Edison school, we had a national winner of the Science World Mars Writing Competition. Grade 6 participated in the competition. All the honor science kids participate in it, and we had a national winner. So kudos to those individuals that were part of that. And lastly, we had 3 Liberty Science teachers who were selected to attend a Teachers Leader program through the Center of Innovation and Engineering and Science Engineering Integrated STEM Approach programs. Susan Zuccaro, Vince DeJesus, and Maria David. Congratulations to them. And I know there's other things going on. Those are the highlights for today. That's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutsky. I would like to add one more kudos to one of our teachers. She may be here this evening. Deb Cohn from the high school. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. I happen to be one of the judges for the New Jersey School Board Association Special Education Committee. I did recuse myself. However, Deb Cohn, representing our district, is one of 10 state winners this year for innovative programming for our autistic program and mild cognitive, and she will be recognized May 11th at the School Board Association. Okay. At this time, if we can set the microphone up. Lauren, you just bear with us a second. We're going to do that. Thanks, Lauren.
Just move the mic up and down. It's just like a little handle here.
Techie. Cool. All right. At this time, okay, Mr. Kramer, I'm going to let you go first because you're there. We'll have public comments on agenda items only. It'll be limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Calavano will start the clock. At the time, I will ask that you identify yourself, and at the end of all public comment, at that time, the board will respond. Mr. Kramer.
Just a few questions about the budget. I do respect that the board spent a lot of time and really tried on this. But I noticed a few things. One, your enrollment is pretty much flat. The CPI, or the rate of inflation this year, is 0.7. But my tax levy is going up 1.86%, or double, more than double the rate of inflation. I noted a couple other things. I looked at comparable districts, which I look at as urban rim districts in Essex County that have high special ed rates, high ESL rates, complex transportation issues, and aging infrastructure. And in that group, I included Maplewood South Orange, Montclair, Bloomfield, and West Orange. And I noted that your per student cost is significantly higher here than those other three. And in this budgeting process, I'd like to know why that's so. Thank you.
Is this on? Is there anybody else who would like to ask a question or make a comment to the board? I see, you know what, if there's going to be a bunch, if you just want to stand in line instead of me calling, because I can't do that. So if you just want to stand in line, we'll go that route, okay? You're first. Yeah, that's a great idea, Mr. Schwartzman. If you could just line up on the side behind, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but Ms. Kinsella Pasquale. If you could just line up behind her, and then we'll come over to the front, okay?
And then, here we go.
Hello.
Okay. Hi, my name is Genesis Gedge. I'm a senior at West Orange High School. I live in 8 Murray Terrace, and I committed to Drew University as a history major.
Oh.
My name is Catherine Meyerson. I was born in this town on 14 Colony Drive West in the Hazel District. I have grown up here. I'm currently a high school sophomore, and I'm aspiring to attend art school.
And we're here to talk to you guys about the art budget because that's a big concern for us.
Okay.
So, art is something seen in everyday life. It's a way of expression and has helped many people to recover from personal struggles. Art helps to spread important messages and brightens up communities. The creativity that grows within an art class helps expand students' minds and will launch them in their careers and connect them to many kinds of people. But there's a problem occurring in this district. Students do not realize that they have the option to pursue the arts, except for the all-important band program, of course. Since elementary school, band has been the main priority of West Orange Arts Program because it has been the most advertised and funded. Because of that, students don't see that they are able to take multiple different art classes. When I was going into high school, I was not aware of 3D design classes, digital design, art history, or more, which I would have loved to take. I was lucky enough to stick with regular art because of my passion for it, and that road had led me down to AP Studio Art as well as a student part of the National Honors Art Society, which I have to say gives a lot to our community. Because of the art classes I have taken in this high school, it has helped me to excel in history as well as bloom my imagination to help me go above and beyond in school projects. It's a shame when I'm in art class having to paint on already used canvases. My teacher has to repaint these used canvases white for only her Art 4 and AP Art students to use. Our materials are lacking and in horrible condition, but as art students, we are lucky enough to be creative to overcome these circumstances. As a graduating student, I see that there are even less students rising in the ranks of art. Not everyone has a passion in sports, science, math, English, and all of that. There are people who need art to strive. I would like to see the art program flourish and grow as I leave this wonderful school. I would like students to learn about the opportunities that gives everyone, and I hope that my concerns about the lack of the care of this art program will be acknowledged and supported.
Thank you very much.
All right, my turn. I look around this room and I see every teacher I have ever had. Shout out to all of you. What's up? I see parents, students, and teachers unified by the color red. I didn't seem to get the dress code memo. That's okay. These people have and will continue to shape my life. They teach me, they counsel me, they are educated, kind-hearted, hard workers, and I see them unified, brought together against a common enemy. There is not a doubt in my mind that these people would not be gathered here today, picket signs in hand, if there were not an incredible threat on our schools. The threat comes from the slashing of the budget. I see teachers stressing as their jobs are replaced for Chromebooks and a dance studio, which, by the way, displaces the Team Pep class, which teaches underclassmen about safe sex, STIs, and consent, which we can all agree is pretty important. And the nearest and dearest to my heart, I see them trying to cut our art budget. I see them cutting it by 2/3. Each student next year will have a budget of $12, according to our art teacher, who tries to keep us informed about the art budget so that we can protest. That's about 2 pens to anybody who doesn't know. Yeah, 2 pens. We met with a certain nameless administrator to discuss these changes, to discuss our concerns, and we were shrugged off, ignored, and interrupted in an incredibly rude display of apathy. We are the future. Put some faith in us and our concerns and listen. We're not toddlers. We're near or complete adults who understand how money and politics work, especially when they're working against us. My teacher, Ms. Young, is an amazing woman who battles her young son's cancer at home and who teaches and inspires as soon as she steps into the classroom. I see her painting over students' old artworks to make canvases ready for the current AP students. I see her panicking when she reviews the budget, upset as she realizes that soon there will be no money for supplies, and her students will have to improvise with less than what they need. I'm an artist. It's my passion, it's my life, it's my every waking moment. I will not stand for it to be cut. It's hard enough to convince my parents to believe in my art. I shouldn't have to convince the people who are paid to represent me and my future. Stop trading in my future, my happiness for Chromebooks and dance studios. Stop cutting the West Orange family apart. You can censor our musicals, that's fine, which you did. Fire our director from last year, that's slightly less fine. But do not take away my future and my passion. Do not cut my supplies that I have to paint on already used canvases, destroying someone else's beautiful artwork. Thank you for your time. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank
My name is Susan Pasquale. I called you recently the other day, and I talked to Laura this week in regards to the fourth graders changing classes. My name is Susan Kinsella. I work at the fence company. My brother is the president of the community
yes, of
house.
course, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Okay.
I just have some concerns with the parents not understanding that the kids were going to change grades, the third graders changing classes. My daughter's 7. I think there needs to be more communication with the teachers who know the kids and have some responsibility to say that these kids are not ready. I understand I'm a little late with the response and getting parents involved. I don't know if the communication was lost. I said, but I do have concerns that I think you guys are pushing the kids to grow up too soon and too fast. I grew up in Gregory. I lived on Overlook my whole life. I've been here for 40 years. We went to Gregory. We went to Roosevelt. I think the issue for third and fourth graders changing grades is ridiculous. Fifth graders, they do it. I understand. They're grown-ups, and I think that the teachers have responsibilities and should input of what they think. They're with our kids every single day. They know if they're ready for this. I don't think that they're ready. And I know that I'm late and we missed phone calls and everything. I just think that there should have been more communication and more parents involved in the decision.
Hello, my name is Margot Sokolow. I'm a retired teacher. I retired 8 years ago. I was the string director, the orchestra director here in West Orange High School. I served West Orange for 20 years, and it was my honor to do so. We built the program from zero to what it is today, which is, I believe, 4 orchestras, and I'm very proud that it has maintained the high standard as when I left. My question is about the the optional dental retirement plan, and is it experience rated? And if so, how much money are you saving by terminating it, which I, of course, had optioned to take? Is it really, it is. I hear these impassioned students, and I feel very selfish in asking this question, but I would like to know, is it experience rated, and how much money do you save by terminating it?
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Cristiano, and my father is Stephen Cristiano, in-house counsel. I was 6 months old when my father undertook the job of West Orange Board of Education attorney. I am now 28 years old. My father has dedicated the better portion of his life to serving the educational needs of the children and families of West Orange. I grew up watching and living his dedication to this town every day of my life. I always felt a strong sense of family and security growing up in West Orange. I'm very proud of the strong bonds the Cristiano family has to this town. My sisters and I are all graduates of West Orange High School, where we received an excellent education. My grandparents are also graduates. One of my fondest memories from high school days was when my grandfather, Sam Cristiano, who is now 93 years old, took me into the school library and proudly showed me his high school yearbook from the class in 1939. I went on to Rutgers University and then to graduate school at Mercy College. I'm now a physician assistant in the ER at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center. My education at West Orange High School helped me prepare for a wonderful career I have today. It gave me opportunities I might not have received had I grown up somewhere else. My father instilled in all of his children a love for learning and a respect for education. I am a hard worker and dedicated employee today due to watching him all these years serving as board attorney, watching his hard work and his dedication to the job. He was available 24/7 to anyone who needed an answer to a question. I remember many a mail or a Saturday afternoon that was interrupted while he took a call from a board member, and he always did it happily, knowing that that was part of his job. I don't think you'll find a finer, smarter, or more dedicated attorney than my father. It would be a great loss to West Orange if you were no longer an attorney. In conclusion, Mr. Rutsky, never did you once mention in your presentation how employing an outside counsel would save our district money, because it won't. It is a known fact. Mr. Rutsky plans to employ his close friend, Jacoby, who has already charged the district over $70,000 for his work on an incomplete contract as board counsel. I find it deplorable that you want to replace my father with someone who does not live in this town, who has no loyalties to this town. My father even compromised by asking Mr. Rutsky for a pay cut in order to save the board money, which was instantly denied. The least you could have done was give my father recognition for his 27 years of excellent service to the West Orange Board of Education. To the board, I feel sorry for you because you were easily manipulated by a few that wanted to get rid of my father for absolutely no reason.
Raise the mic.
Okay, well,
raise it.
I don't know how to raise it. I'll just.
It's
it's a sad day if the microphone's too short for me. Lisa Scalora, 9 Lessing Road, and I feel bad that I have to follow the Cristiano girls because they were great. I am here because I was in front of you all a few weeks ago discussing the status of our cheer program. Tonight I'm here with a bunch of our parents and our cheerleaders hiding there in the back to discuss the fate of our cheer program. It has been a month since our coach has resigned, yet the position has not yet been posted. We have not seen any progress on the moving forward with our program. At this point now, we are supposed to be having tryouts in the next few weeks. Camp needs to be scheduled. Fundraisers need to take place. And we have no idea what's going on. When I did reach out to the administration, I was basically told that I really didn't know what I was talking about. So I'm a little upset. My parents are upset. My cheerleaders are upset that they have been left in limbo. When I met with Mr. Rutsky and Mr. Moore 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was told that searches were being done, yet the position is yet to be posted. So I expect, both for myself, my cheerleaders, and my parents, that the board maybe step in and take some action, because our cheer program, cheerleaders who came 6th in the nation, 1st in the state of New Jersey, and won 8 competitions this year, in addition, all at the same time, by cheering basketball, boys and girls, football, soccer, and all maintaining honor roll, are now left in the dust to wonder what's going to happen to their program next year. And I really think at this point it's a travesty that you would allow these cheerleaders, many of whom want to cheer in college, and are seeing scholarship opportunities potentially wasted because our program right now is nowhere. I'm sorry, but you've all let amazing coaches slip through your hands because, unfortunately, this was not a place that they felt comfortable working. And now our children are suffering. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Roba Hassan.
My name is Jewel Burnett.
My name is Ajan Brown.
My name is Permeline Datalis.
My name is Monique Davis. And we're here on behalf of Miss Graham. She's an English teacher. And we've been recently told that she's being her contract's not being renewed. And we were kind of concerned about that because she's one of the most valuable teachers that we have in our school, in our opinion. You guys were talking about how quality over quantity is important here in this town, but how do you evaluate someone's quality if you only evaluate them 2 times or 3 times a year, and you don't actually see how their teaching techniques and how they relate to students? Because Miss Graham, she deals with us on a not a personal level, but she is always open to our problems, and she's kind of relatable to a lot of us, and you don't find that in a lot of teachers. So yeah, so that's yeah.
Also, Miss Graham comes to school with a smile on her face every day. You don't get that often, but when it comes to her assignments, she gives very challenging assignments, which would consist of vocabulary and journals and current events each week. And this really helped me with SAT and SAT prep. I realized most of the vocabulary words, which was very rare for me. But she is one of the best help when it comes to schoolwork, when it comes to personal life. One of my biggest fears she actually helped me with, and I've been dealing with this fear for about 10 years.
Yeah, we just wanted to say that Ms. Graham was she's really inspiring, and she really helps us inside the classroom, outside the classroom. She makes sure that she's able to help you on the best level for you. She's not just a teacher who just gives assignments because it's something that she's told to do. She makes sure that you're actually learning, and I feel it was a misconstrued idea that maybe she wasn't as vigorous when you can't really judge that if you don't see how the impact that she has outside of the classroom because you're not with her students all the time. So yeah.
So I didn't personally have Ms. Graham as my teacher, but my good friends Monique and Ajan, they had her, and every time we passed her classroom, they would run, Ms. Graham, Ms. Graham. And I don't do that to any of my teachers, so it obviously shows her impact.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening. We're all juniors in the Honors Survey of American Literature. In Miss Graham's class. Bridget Cunningham.
Annabella Schuler.
Brendan Jackson. And Andre Powell.
So on a personal note, I just wanted to mention that Miss Graham is not only an excellent teacher, as she has taught in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania for the past 11 years. So she's great at what she does. Not only she's very personal with the students. She asks very, questions that makes us think. Personally, not lots of teachers that I've had, get us to really think as students. Usually you just kind of walk in a classroom, you're handed the work, and then you do it, and you kind of leave, not thinking much. But Miss Graham is someone who will get you to open up, really. And being that it's an English class, it's more through expression and through your writing. We have so many writing opportunities. it is a rigorous class. It is a very rigorous class. We get tons of work, but not too much to handle, especially for the honors kids. So like I said, this is something that she's been doing for 11 years. So, and she's taught, in diverse groups, and just she's very adaptable to the environment here at West Orange High School. She's excellent. I've opened up to her personally, and she's just very accepting of all of her students in general, very accepting, and it's something that not every teacher has. It's unique to her. So.
Like, growing up in my life, I always really disliked English until this year, until I had Miss Graham. It's really hard to find a teacher like Miss Graham who not only will make sure that you're on top of your education, but if she sees something's up with you, like you're sad, she'll pull you aside and make sure that your personal life's going well and things like that. And it's just like, yeah, it's really like rare to find a teacher like that. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not really used to public speakings. But Miss Graham is a very loving teacher. I've rarely seen teachers who will give the time of day to think about one of their students as not just someone who passes by classrooms on a daily basis, but as an actual person. And personally, I've been dealing with several problems with academics, just my outside life, and having someone that cared for you and gave you that motivation to keep going in a class that you constantly have problems in. It's thoughtful, and that's rare. That's a rare quality to find in several different people, and I want other kids to experience the kind of care that Miss Graham gives to everyone in her class. And I would really appreciate it if you would try and... Sorry. Okay.
I have Miss Graham for English and for broadcast journalism. I have that pleasure of seeing her twice a day, every day. And she has become not just a teacher to me, she has honestly become my friend. She is one of my favorite teachers, and honestly, it would break my heart to see her not come back next year, not to see her my senior year. And I am not the only one who feels this way. We have a petition, three copies actually, of just filled with names who love this teacher and would love to see her come back. And it was, when we were getting names for this petition, all we had to say was, can you sign this petition for Miss Graham? And in a heartbeat, we had names, just flooding names. So it would mean the world to me and to the other students who come up here if you would give Miss Graham another job next year. We would appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Jordan Green.
I'm Rebecca Temple. I'm Courtney McGrath. I'm Alessandra Pintado.
And I'm Christina Jager.
We are here just representing the Italian program. And first, we just want to say thank you to the Board of Education. We really thought we would be giving a different speech today, till about 5 minutes before we came. So we just want to get across to you guys the sincere feeling of gratitude that we have that 8th grade isn't being cut. And we just want to share with anyone that maybe doesn't know that the 8th grade Italian is probably the most important step in the entire Italian program. 8th grade is where most language students decide what track they're going on, and whether that track is Chinese or Spanish or Italian or French or whatever. If Italian is not provided, then the vast majority of students will be on a track with another language. And most of those students won't be switching from that language to Italian once they get to high school because they're already in a track. And many students, I'm sure, would not even know that the program exists. So we just want to stress that we are very, very thankful for the grant, and we understand that it's I think for 3 or 4 years, which is fantastic, but we want to make sure that we get across that 8th grade Italian is not something that should ever be on the chopping block. It is too important, it's too essential to every student, and we did have a petition going. Honestly, it was easier to get signatures for that than bring a permission slip home to my parents to get signed. I mean, people were lining up to sign this petition. We got almost 400 signatures in the span of 3 days. There was another online petition that got just about 500 signatures. So this is something that's extremely important to the student body in West Orange High School. It is an extremely important program. Signora Amabile and Signora Zamlut have been just amazing teachers, amazing people. Signora Zamlut wrote my college recommendation letter. Both teachers are always there when you need them, and I would hate to ever see the program being diminished and for them to have their program face difficulties like that. And if you guys want to. So I think we're done, so thank you guys.
Good evening. My name is Ursula McGee. I'm one of the reading positions that's being cut at Roosevelt Middle School. And I wanted to express some thoughts. First of all, I want to thank my principal, Mr. Hush. He's bent over backwards communicating with me throughout this process. I want to thank Ms. Walls, the board. You sent your messages through him that it was budgetary, and I accept that, and it's wonderful. And the process has really been starting to level out and be comfortable. I wasn't going to speak. I have submitted remarks to the board secretary, but I think I wanted to kind of put my spin on something since we've been watching all of these political campaigns going on TV. Everyone has their spin on something. So I think I want to start with just a few points of clarification for the record. The reading class was scheduled for a semester, per se, for one cohort. That would be 90 days. An academic calendar year per the state to be in compliance is 180. Out of the 90 days, I actually had 45 calendar days to meet with the children. Out of that 45, you would subtract possibly 8 for some type of formalized or standardized testing. So I met with my semester cohort maybe 30 days or 32. I am saying that just because it was a program that has been in the district, and the class was actually an elective class. It should have never tried to carry the weight of the absence of the reading classes that were canceled. We actually had the regional account manager come from Virginia, and we spoke with her. We watched a demonstration, and when she found out how we had scheduled reading 7, she was like, "That's very interesting. No one else is doing that. Let me know how that works." I have facilitated it 3 or 4 years. I will say I have given recommendations how to make it more effective. I do understand it's budgetary, and I'm excited there are other things that are in play to assist with the reading development, but I would like to have some assurances for whoever goes into those roles that we follow what the program mandates. So it's nice to have the research that things are not working. If a program says it requires 90 minutes of execution, then that's what we should provide. And that's not just for ELA, it's for mathematics. Once you start cutting the time, it will affect the student achievement. But thank you all. I love Roosevelt. That's where I started. And I'll continue to develop and to grow. And hopefully we can get back to the point where we have a stronger ELA program where our students are achieving at the levels they could. But there's actually been a void in the reading component. And if the scores have dropped, maybe we can assert it to that fact. But otherwise, I want to thank you for this opportunity. And I want to also thank Mark, because he answered my emails on the weekend, on Saturday and Sunday in the morning. So it's really been great. Thank you.
Hi, this is Ron and my daughter, let's tell around. I have great concerns and several questions about today's agenda. The Hazel community is still wondering about the process to replace Dr. Acevedo and the lack of communication from the school district about the process, especially to see how now we're hiring a new interim principal. After being part of 6 principal hiring committee, this process doesn't look like any of the others. I see the resignation of Floyd Gray, who is an exceptional math and court teacher at Edison, effective at 5/27/2016. This is a very sad news for my daughter and I. Saddens me more to see talented educators continue on and on leaving our district. I have nothing but praises for his high work ethic and dedication, not only this year teaching my child, but also the time that I was working in Edison. Who will be carrying out his class of math and court after 5/27/2016. The district is also planning to eliminate 7 non-shade positions, which was also done several years ago, which it proved to be wrong move not long after that. Are we really doing it again? What is the rationale this time, and how it is different from last time? Can you explain which is the rationale behind as well of the decision eliminating this position, and how many times are we going to hear all cuts in the classroom out when at the end reflecting and impacting the student directly? Also, I would like to wish the best to Mr. Burke, who is retiring. He is another great and talented staff member from Edison, who I will always keep him and his wife, already retired, in my highest regards. Both received on several occasions the Friends of Past Award, which is given by parental nomination. I would like to thank him greatly for all the years he's given to our students. I stand here today with questions and concerns that need to be answered, and stand in support of the entire educational staff of this district, not only Hazel and Edison, but all the 11 schools, teaching our students, making a connection with them, making a difference in their young life. That is what teachers' job should be, not what politicians and others tell them it should be. I am sorry to all the staff and educators that stand behind me. Please know your hard work and dedication doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you.
Excuse me. My name is Edison Benton, and this is my friend Jose Portillo. We are kind of confused. He was a bus driver for the West Orange Board of Education, and he was terminated, but he was sent a letter indicating we thought that he would have a hearing before the board, but this seems to be a different venue, and I'm here as his interpreter, as he doesn't speak too much English. So we're kind of confused.
We'll respond, sir, at the end of public comment.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
Okay.
Are there any others who wish to speak this evening to the board? Seeing none, we'll close public comment at this point. For the agenda items, yeah. No, we come back to you at the end. Okay. Okay, let's start here. First, before we get into specifics, I'd like to thank the students for coming in tonight. I know it's, on a good day, kind of nerve-wracking getting up and speaking publicly, especially when you have about 400 teachers behind you. It's kind of weird. But I do want to thank the kids for coming in tonight. You all spoke beautifully. I don't even know if they're still here. Are the kids still here? Well, actually, our two art students are here, and you kind of remind me of girls who I went to school with in the 70s. You missed your era, but thank you very much for coming in. We had a good time back then. Okay, Mr. Rutsky, can you respond first to Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, I'll take them in order
okay.
that I can respond. Some I cannot respond because they're personnel matters
Correct.
that we can't address. But I can respond to a couple. Mr. Kramer, as we invited last year, we'd be glad to sit down with you and go through the per pupil cost. You are correct that the per pupil cost here is higher than those three districts that you have indicated, South Orange, Maplewood, Montclair, and Bloomfield. However, there's a couple factors that you weren't taking into consideration, and some of them happen to do, like Montclair does not have the busing that West Orange does. And while that might seem like a simple piece, that is not a simple piece when you're busing 5,000 students. So there's if we're going to compare, we have districts that are sent to us from the state that are very similar to us across the state that we could certainly sit down. And again, I know we offered that invitation, and you're welcome again to come in, and we'll give you as much time as you need to go through that. As far as the flat CPI, obviously I'm not prepared tonight to discuss that, but we can certainly find that information for you. And you are correct that the 1.86 increase is accurate based on the budget. The CPI I'm not aware of as of right now. We can certainly look into that, though, for you. As far as the art budget, you pointed out a couple of things to me that's the first time I've heard, so I will also, ladies, I will certainly look into that. I will speak to the supervisor of that department, get a little information on that, and then some individuals, the administrators in this building, to kind of see what we're talking about and what actually is going on to that. As far as Ms. Pasquale, I'm sorry we were not able to connect in our last two phone calls. I'm not sure Ms. Pasquale is. The issue of more communication, that was, there were 5 different meetings set up across the district, and we tried to spread them across the district for the purpose, and we set it up that we had them on different days of the week and different buildings through different weeks, because we understand the complications of individual schedules. But that was one of the things that has been discussed. And actually, we've been talking about departmentalization for over a year, and lots of discussions here and communication at the building level. Just to clarify one point, we are not doing 3rd grade. We are doing 4th grade. And what's interesting at Gregory, they currently are doing 5th grade there now. And they've been doing that, and some other of the buildings are doing departmentalization as well, and they very much like it. But we understand there's change. I'll be glad. I know you and I haven't been able to hook up. I'll be glad to talk to you again and sit down and explain everything to you if we need to. Marlo, I know that we spoke on the phone as well. I'm not sure where Marlo is. That's something, as I indicated, yes, Marlo, as I indicated earlier when we talked, Margot, excuse me, that we have a brand new health broker, and one of the charges that I've asked them is to look at that whole piece for us. So we will certainly do that. And I know I have your phone number because we already spoke, and I will get back to you as promised that I would do as far as the dental requirement. I just want to make one clarification on Mr. Cristiano. The labor and negotiation attorney, Matt Giacobbe, was hired in the district before I got here. This board, besides Mr. Schwartzbaum, hired him before I came. I did not have anything to do with the hiring. I do know Mr. Giacobbe from my previous district, but again, I can't comment any further on anything else that was said. I just, because it's a personnel matter, I'm not allowed to go any farther than that. Ms. Scalara, as far as the cheerleading, I actually just had a conversation with Mr. Moore on Friday, and I was asking about the progress, and apparently they are moving forward. I will certainly find out tomorrow to have a conversation, and we will reach out to you. Searches take some time. It doesn't happen overnight, and there's individuals that there's discussions happening with as far as taking over the cheerleading. But again, as we spoke at the last board meeting, the cheerleading coach, Ms. Topping, resigned. We did not ask her to step down. She resigned and did what she needed to do. So the issue is we're looking at that very clearly, but I will look into that more with Mr. Moore and determine where we are in that process. The young ladies and young men who spoke very nicely about Ms. Graham, again, I can't comment on that because that's a personnel matter. We're not allowed to have any conversation. The young ladies and young men who came up about the Italian program, again, nobody sitting up here wanted the Italian program to go away, and we are happy that it was able to be reinstituted. Ms. McGee, one of the things I saw in your letter to us about your conversation tonight was the opportunity to discuss more electives at the middle school. And I just want you to understand that the middle school principals and I have started that conversation for this coming school year, that we can create a committee made up of the teachers, administrators, and the parents, and sit down and really look at our offerings. I do not feel that we are offering effective electives at the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade level. So we could certainly do that, look at the actual schedule at those three buildings, and try to offer some kids things that might excite them more about the electives. So I saw that in your letter. I wanted to let you know that's something that we are already looking into. As far as Mr. Ronde, the process of the interim principal, that was communicated in a letter several weeks ago when Dr. Acevedo was approved by this board for his resignation to take on the superintendency in another district. We notified the school community shortly after to explain to them that we would be looking into an interim principal, and then once that person was in place, going out and doing the search for the principal, the permanent principal position. We have found the interim principal. We were looking at a retired principal from West Orange that would know how to close the building down very well and understood the dynamics of West Orange, and unfortunately she was not able to take the position. We were hoping she would be a seamless transition. So we hired another person that tonight, and Heather Carr is a former elementary principal and very skilled from different positions within the education world. So we're excited to have her on board. She'll be meeting shortly with Dr. Acevedo, and then she'll be coming in the week that Dr. Acevedo leaves to be with him, meet the staff. We will have a meet and greet in the evening for all the parents that would like to come out, as well as right after school for all the staff, though, so the staff can meet Ms. Carr. And then we will begin, and as communicated, we have set up a site where any parent at Hazel who'd like to be part of the permanent principal position can go on there and just indicate that they would like to be part of the committee, and then we will select individuals. We can't have 30 or 40 people, but we certainly can have some parent representation. I promised the PTA president that and some of the executive committee, they could certainly be serving on that committee as well. And we would have 3 rounds total for that principal interview process that we can spread those parents across, as well as staff. We always have parents, we always have staff, and every single position we've hired as administrators so far since I've been here, we include staff, and we certainly include parents in that process. Sir, as far as the other piece, this is public, so we're not allowed to talk in public about it, but certainly afterwards I'll be glad to meet with you and have a personal conversation, and then if you need to meet with the board, we can set that up for you. Okay, you're welcome. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Rutsky.
Brief comment?
Yeah, just a minute. Also, just to respond to Ms. Duran, lunch aids are not being cut. That was on the preliminary budget only. The board was not supportive of that recommendation. We worked to make sure that that did not happen. We appreciate and understand the fact that when there is an unstructured time, that is a great opportunity for the kids just to get into it. So enough said. We have enough teachers in here. You know what I'm talking about. So lunch aids are intact. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher your name. Susan Pascal. Where's
Pasquale.
She? Pasquale. Thank you. I know your brother. He's easier to say. Just so you know, my son, my younger son, he's 21 years old, as I discussed with you. When we were at Redwood, when he was in 3rd grade, they changed classes starting then. So I think it's kind of cyclical. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, through the years. But again, as we discussed too, younger students who are classified change classes also. My older son, who was classified, he started to change when he was in kindergarten. So we do understand, and I certainly understood as a mother of a 5-year-old who had autism, that he was moving from one class to another. I have two. Yeah, no, are in basic skills as well. Okay. Okay. All right, we don't have a dialogue back and forth. I know this is your first time here, so I'm just wanting to respond. But again, it's cyclical. Younger children do that, all the time. And I, as a parent, also was a little kind of freaked out that he was wandering the hallways and stuff like that. But Mr. Rutsky will discuss it with you. And again, we did have numerous notifications, and I really don't know how that didn't trickle down to the entire population. Yeah, because it was like all over the place, but I think one was even held at Gregory, and I understand it was quite well attended. So again, as I said to you on the phone, I apologize that it didn't make it to you, but you'll speak to Mr. Rutsky afterwards, okay? And Kinsella is much easier to say than your married name. I apologize. I know Teddy well. He did my fences. Okay, Mr. Rutsky, as far as the concern for the things that need to be addressed right now in cheerleading, as for the tryouts, the camps, and stuff like that, you'll address that with Mr. Moore.
Tomorrow.
Okay. Mr. Kramer, I just wanted to make a point to you, particularly because we have so many staff members here this evening. One of the reasons that the differential in the cost per student from the other districts that you looked at might very well have to do with the experience and the education of the staff. We have teachers who have been here for 20, 30 years with their doctorates, with masters plus 15, 30, 45. And again, you need to compare apples to apples. So perhaps when you look at those other districts and you say, okay, their salaries are based here and our salaries are based there, again, you need to understand the compilation of the teaching staff and what they bring to the table, because it's all set by the salary guide. Okay, and then Mr. Rutsky, of course, will get back to you on the CPI. But again, as we discussed tonight, we gave you a lot of talking points as to why the budget, we were a deficit of close to $4 million. We have increases in our health benefits. Chapter 78 has flatlined, so the district does need to make up that differential in the cost. So there are multiple variables in addition to the transportation. I know when you ran against me and you said that we should have shared busing and you wanted Verona to pay for our busing, and I said, Mr. Kramer, if you can get Verona to pay for our busing, I'll vote for you, because they don't have busing. So there's just, we have 12 square miles here. It's a lot of busing. And again, the after-school busing is critical. And what I mean by the after-school busing is for the kids to partake in after-school activities. Some kids only come to school so they can play basketball, or so they can do football, or they can do drama, or they can do art. And if we don't have an opportunity for them to get home, they're going to lose interest. So we do understand it. And years ago, we changed the busing. We cut busing. We actually changed the scheduling of our schools to allow for 3-tier busing. We are not magicians. We are board members. We do everything we possibly can to provide a comprehensive education for our students and the opportunity to get back and forth to partake in that comprehensive education. So again, Mr. Rutsky will get back to you with further information on the CPI. The other issues, as Mr. Rutsky discussed, are certainly personnel, and we all know that we're not allowed to go there, so we won't. But I think that's all I have. Mr. Robertson, I know you wanted to make a comment.
Very briefly.
Go.
To Genesis and Catherine. Art helped me to survive my youth. It helped me to get through a period where I was ill, through a period where I suffered bullying as a kid, drawing, painting, mixed media, and poetry. And art also helped me to win my wife. Art helped me to have a career in advertising and marketing. Art is the very basis for all culture. Art, to kind of paraphrase Chesterton, is the signature of humankind. I would never suggest that we should trade out Chromebooks for art. You need your supplies, you need your media, you need the opportunities and all the different resources to fully express your creativity, to let your soul breathe. And now at the same time, I would also encourage you to expand into digital art as well. And the fact that Chromebooks, laptops, the digital age is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. And that's one of the reasons, too, why things like STEAM have been born, to meld together the art and creativity that makes America great with the technology that we need to excel. So I love, appreciate, deeply admire what it is you do and your passion and the way in which you articulated it, and fully support it in every way.
Thank you, Mr.
You're
Robertson. Okay.
I have. I've done voiceovers before. Yeah. Coming to you live from West Orange. That's right.
Down, boy. Okay. All right, let's get back to business. May I have a motion for personnel items 1 through 4 and the addendum?
I'll move 1 through 4.
Is there a second?
I'll second. Second.
Okay.
And, okay, that's
No, that's not yet.
That's not yet, right.
First, I'd like to acknowledge we have a couple of retirements that are being noted tonight, long-term staff members. First, Jeanette DePalma, who has been, okay, let's give it up for Jeanette. Okay. Ms. DePalma has been a special education educator at the high school for 28 years. Additionally, I'm going to butcher this last name, and I apologize already. Joanne Cornelli at Edison. Somebody help me?
Kamoli.
Okay.
Miss Kay.
Miss Kay, we'll do that. Science teacher at Edison, retiring after 11 years. Catherine Ivanek. That was an easy one. Thanks, Lauren. I got it. Library media, retiring from the high school. 36 years. Wow. Okay. Got it. Okay. I'll continue with the retirement acknowledgments, and then we're going to amend personnel 1 through 4, removing something as Mr. Rutsky just requested. Yes. Anne, oh God, another name. Zaire, thank you, Mark. West Orange High School ESL, retiring after 15 years. Mr. Anthony Aviva, custodial supervisor at West Orange High School, retiring after 5 years. I need a motion to amend personnel, removing and tabling item number 3 under personnel at this moment. Do I have a motion to remove number 3 under 1?
I'll move that.
I'll second.
All, Mr. Calavano, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Also, as Mr. Rutsky acknowledged, we are appointing an interim tonight at Hazel, Heather Carr. She will begin on 5/2, and there will be a time for transition with Mr. Cristiano. Acevedo.
Acevedo.
Thank you. Got it. God, we're going to miss Ed. Okay.
Madam President?
Yes.
One more retirement. Robert Burke at Edison, retiring after 14
Yep, I
years.
was getting to that one. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Ms. Mordecai. I was going to get to that. Okay, any other comments from the board on personnel items?
Madam President, I have a comment.
Go for it.
I just want to publicly congratulate the staff that are retiring, but especially Ms. Kay. I wish she was actually here tonight. Each of my 4 children had her for science, and for a few years there, she had me on speed dial, and she had me on. She memorized my email address, and she told each of my children that. And we spoke about 3 or 4 times a week because of Ronald and Anthony. But her passion for science certainly, was there, and certainly she will be missed. So I just want to publicly thank her.
Thank you, Mr. Charles. Any other comments from the board on personnel? Seeing none, Mr. Calavano?
Mr. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Mordecai?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartzbaum?
Yes.
Vice President Robertson?
Yes.
President Lab?
Yes. May I have a motion for curriculum instruction, items 1 through 3?
I'll move those.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Robertson?
I have to abstain from item number 3 for my entries
Okay.
under the applications for school business request.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Calavano?
I have one
Oh,
comment.
wait.
Discussion.
I have one comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Rutsky, could you please explain for the public item number 2 under curriculum and
yes.
instruction?
Where I was going.
Very
For the
good.
grant?
Sure. It's a grant that has put Innovative New Jersey Summer Blended and Personalized Learning. It's a grant that was put in to help Washington and Hazel have a summer program with lots of educational opportunities behind it. We do not know if we have received the grant. We've only submitted. Your approval for the submission has to be done. It will be sent in, and hopefully we do receive all of it or some of it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Calavano?
Mr. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Mordecai?
Yes.
Mr. Schwartzbaum?
Yes.
Vice President Robertson?
Yes, with abstention from 3.
President Lab?
Yes. May I have a motion for finance, special services 1 through 5, and business office 1 through 14?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
First, I'd like to raise a couple of points here on, hold on, I'll get to that. Lots of paper tonight. I'd like to acknowledge that we are approving the renewal of the emergency evacuation agreement with the West Orange Armory. This is for our high school. That would be on page 12 of the agenda. Additionally, I see Dr. Polera here this evening. Joe, I'd like to thank you very, very much for your very, very generous donation to what will be Kelly Elementary School. Thank you.
Way to go, Dr. Joe.
Now, I'm going to ask Mr. Calavano, can you please explain items 11 through 13, please?
Well, we currently belong to ACES, which is an organization that has about 400 school districts, and they go out and purchase gas and electric. We feel by working with a company, MX, and doing a reverse auction, we would be able to get better rates than through ACES. So these resolutions will allow us to have a reverse auction. A reverse auction enables live, fully transparent bidding for both electric and natural gas, which means that the suppliers will always know if they are currently have the lowest bid, the lowest rate, or if someone has bid lower than them. By allowing repeat bidding, this creates a competitive environment whereby the suppliers fight it out amongst themselves while we are logged in, watching our auction together and discussing and analyzing the results. So we're hoping to get some positive results. We're going to be going out for our regular general electric, natural gas, and our electric for our street lighting.
Can you tell me when do you plan to do this, if and when it is approved this evening?
Well, actually, we're going to try to hold the auction tomorrow.
Oh, that's quick. Okay,
There's no obligation, so we can
Okay.
just cancel the results.
Okay.
We can have it as often as we'd like, and we're going to look at the penalties for us to do an early termination with ACES to see if it's worth for us to get it started right away, or lock in the rates when the ACES contract expires.
And how do you notify the potential suppliers of the auction?
There's a company, the company that we're working with, they will send out the notification. So there'll be whoever wants to bid on our service.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for doing this initiative. I know you were very successful in your former school district with getting a much more competitive price than ACES offered. So good luck tomorrow with the auction.
Thanks.
Thank you, and keep us in the loop. Any other questions from the board on any finance item?
Madam President, I have a question.
Okay, sir.
Mr. Calvano, item 14, the 60-month agreement with Pitney Bowles, is that the price? Is that an increase over our present contract? Is there savings on that?
It's actually a bigger unit than we have currently, so it's a little it's about a $200, $300 a month increase.
Okay.
But it's definitely needed here at the high school.
Okay.
The machine we have was not capable of doing what we needed.
Okay. Thanks. That's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else questions on finance?
No, thank
We're
you.
good? Mr. Calavano?
Mr. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Mordecai?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartzbaum?
Yes.
Vice President Robertson?
Yes.
President Lab?
Yes. May I have a motion for reports 1 through 3?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Yes. I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Rutsky, if you could just give a brief overview on number 3.
Sure. This is the required school bus emergency evacuation drill. Every school has to do it 2 times a year, where kids learn to properly evacuate in case there was an emergency. Whether they ride a bus or not, they could be on a bus at any time, so we make sure all the children go through it.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the board on reports 1 through 3? Seeing none, Mr. Calavano?
Mr. Charles?
Yes.
Mrs. Mordecai?
Yes.
Mrs. Schwartzbaum?
Yes.
Vice President Robertson?
Yes.
President Lab?
Yes. Reports from the board president and/or board members. Anything this evening?
No.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
Okay, good. Thank you. May I have a motion for the next school board meeting to be held at 8 p.m. on May 9th at West Orange High School?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. It's time for petitions and hearings from the public. Anybody want to talk to us tonight?
Jay Wack, Roosevelt Middle School, and also WOEA Executive Board member. Board members, Superintendent Rutsky, colleagues, members of the West Orange community, friends behind me and in front of me. Let me begin by thanking you, the board and the superintendent, for affording me this opportunity to speak, and my thanks to the association for allowing me to be the first. It seems to me that it's essential we recognize why we're all here tonight and why we are not. We are not here to discuss issues involving negotiations. We are also not here to address the intricacies and nuances of a successor contract. We are here, however, to communicate to you about another kind of contract, an unspoken and understood compact between administration, faculty, and staff, between employer and employee, between human being and human being. Clearly, there's a pronounced misunderstanding and misconception about, when it comes to the actual climate of our district and of the dynamic between the two entities who are both trying, I believe, to achieve the same goal, to educate the future of our town and our community. Even before the recent emergence of what now has become the issues at hand, I can tell you from the myriad of messages, dialogues, and conversations I have had with more members of the union than I can enumerate, that quite honestly, not everything is as it's purported to be. Certainly the remarkable turnout here tonight corroborates what I'm saying. What seems to be paramount on the minds of the great number of WOA members concerns the topic of respect. Quite frankly, through emails, phone calls, text messages, one-on-one conversations, and dialogues at meetings, it is impossible to deny that there are a vast number of association members who feel disrespected, feel that their voices have not been heard, feel that they have been unduly overburdened, overextended, and underappreciated by the district. feel that they suffer from a climate where there's a real possibility of reprisal and retribution, feel powerless, intimidated, and thus silenced, feel that their safety and security is being compromised and threatened, feel that the low morale, which is at times palpable and tangible, is growing more elevated and fostered than de-escalated and expunged. Feel that classifiable numbers have taken the place of children's names, the accumulation of data the place of real, authentic teaching, and they feel that basic human decency has taken a back seat to the demands of the bottom line. So we are here tonight to send a message, one sent with red shirts, body written in spoken language. We want you to know that as of this moment, certainly from the union's perspective, the lines of communication are officially open and need to be unfettered by fear of retaliation, retribution, and reprisal. Also, the association, out of respect for everyone's time and that of everyone's families, have asked our members to reduce the number of speakers coming up here to one that will allow us to sort of get to bed at a reasonable hour tonight. Just as importantly, though, there's the hope that what will be said will reacquaint perception with reality, so that those two ineffably important yet unfamiliar bedfellows become as close as they can to being what they need to be, one and the same. Yes, there is trouble right here in River City. Together, let's start to put an end to that tonight. And also, please let me add, I am one person, but I am not alone.
My name is Jean Torito. I've been teaching in West Orange for 21 years. In response to the email to the staff that was sent as a joint statement from the superintendent and the board president, I believe I need to reply. I feel that there is a lack of respect towards staff members from top administrators. Regardless of the statement that we have the utmost respect for the staff and truly appreciate the hard work and dedication provided daily, I don't feel that way. Being a union building rep for about 15 years and the co-chair of the union's elementary committee, which addresses issues at the elementary level, I can tell you that I know that many of our staff members share my feelings. I'll give you 2 examples of why we feel this way. 1, the plan to departmentalize the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades was controversial, especially in regard to 3rd grade. 3rd grade was included, then not, and then included again. Before the staff was informed, it was announced to the parents at the meeting the superintendent held with them that 3rd grade would not departmentalize next year. That lack of communication is not respectful to the staff. Secondly, last year there was a teacher in our building whose husband died. He'd become ill suddenly, was hospitalized for a short time, and then he died. The staff member had worked in the district for 4 years without a break in service. She had no emergency days or personal days to use when he died, so when she didn't come in so she could attend her husband's funeral, she didn't get paid. And I've heard of other people in the district with similar stories. Who does that to someone? That doesn't show respect for staff members, at least not in the world that lives in my mind. I understand that we have a contract that clearly defines what an emergency day can be used for and that sick days are to be used only if a staff member is sick. However, the contract also states that additional emergency days can be granted at the superintendent's discretion, but central office seems to have lost its sense of humanity and chooses not to grant them. When this kind of information gets around the district, it creates a feeling that there is a climate of a lack of respect towards our colleagues, which then demoralizes all of us. Finally, I also understand that personnel cuts due to budget restraints always seem draconian, but I feel that the threat of the elimination of the position held by our union president is symbolic and meant to intimidate all union members. I am in one person, but I am not alone. I hope that after speaking out honestly, and from my heart that there will be no retaliation against me.
My name is Adele Cristiano. I'm Steve Cristiano's wife, and I just wanted to make, Mr. Rutsky, I just want you to know that you made my husband close up his office after 35 years to let him go after 1 year. My daughter, Carolyn, failed to say that, but I'm not here for that. And also, Jerry Tarnoff always used to praise my husband, how he was a bargain to the district. And between the two of us living here, it's been 92 years. I'm an instructional assistant at Gregory School, and I'm here to speak on behalf of my father-in-law, Samuel Cristiano, who was a World War II veteran and a longtime attorney for the Board of Education. My father-in-law was recently notified by the board that his medical insurance was ceased as of June 30th. As a retiree, my father-in-law paid his annual premium to the board of more than $5,000. He has paid these premiums to the board for the past 27 years, his retirement. At almost 94 years of age, he will now have to obtain coverage from somewhere else. The alleged reason for his removal and the removal of other retirees from the board's group policy is to save money. That is hard to believe, as my father-in-law and others paid for this coverage. They are not free riders. In my father-in-law's case, his primary insurance is Medicare, and the insurance he's received from the board is supplemental. Most of the other retirees only pay for dental coverage. What tremendous savings does the board realize from doing this? Is it worth ill will the board is creating among the people who devoted years of service to it? I ask the board to reconsider the poorly thought out decision. Thank you. I'm one person. I'm not alone.
Good evening, West Orange board members, Superintendent Rutsky, West Orange administrators, parents, and fellow colleagues. Thank you for this opportunity to speak in response to Mr. Rutsky's email. My name is Julie Matz. I have 20 years of teaching experience, and the last 4 are here in West Orange. Currently, I serve as the librarian at Gregory Elementary School. According to Alvin Toffler, author of Future Shock, quote, "Change is not merely necessary to life, it is life." He goes on to say, however, that people have a limited biological capacity for change, and when this capacity is overwhelmed, the capacity is in future shock. As for the West Orange schools, the Office of Superintendent has changed hands 3 times in the past 6 years, affecting every member of the West Orange learning community. In addition, over the same period of time, we have been trained for and expected to master the Marzano teacher evaluation system, student growth objectives, PARCC testing, smart boards, on-course lesson and curriculum planning, and new curriculum from kindergarten to 12th grade. Even with this onslaught of change, I do not see or feel resistance. In fact, it's quite the opposite. What I do see is frustration and exhaustion from trying earnestly to just keep up. We are invested in doing the right thing for our students. That's why we are teachers. But now we find ourselves being asked to rotate the tires of our cars while speeding down the highway at 65 miles an hour. We are not resistant. This is simply impossible. I hope that after speaking honestly and from my heart, there will be no retaliation made against me, because while I am one person, I am not alone.
Lisa Piscini-Asman. I'm a teacher at Gregory School. In response to the email to the staff that was sent as a joint statement from the superintendent and the board president, I feel I need to reply. I've been teaching in West Orange for 27 years, and I have never felt that the staff is afraid of speaking out honestly and from their hearts about issues until now, for fear of retaliation from this administration. I will give you just one example of this climate that currently seems to exist in our district. I am co-chair of the WA Elementary Committee that held a meeting on January 20th, 2016, for any staff member that wanted to come and collaborate with colleagues from other elementary schools on ways to successfully implement departmentalization. We knew that departmentalization would be implemented possibly in grades 3, 4, and 5 for the 2016-17 school year. We wanted to have a meeting to listen to suggestions and concerns that the staff members had, and then bring these comments to the administration in order to ensure a smooth transition to departmentalizing. The first question that was asked at this meeting from a staff member was, could we, the WOEA Elementary Committee, guarantee that if staff members spoke out openly and honestly at this meeting about their thoughts and ideas about departmentalization, that there would be no retaliation from the administration? I was so taken back by this statement. I responded, I couldn't guarantee that. I'm not an administrator, I'm a teacher. I said that I would hope that no staff member would ever be retaliated against for stating how they feel on any issue. That's when I realized that this climate of fear and retaliation was real in my district. We as teachers deal with the feelings of students every day in our jobs. Their feelings are real to them, and we have to listen and understand why they're having those feelings. So now we have staff members in our district that have the feeling of fear of retaliation for voicing their concerns. When we look at the threat of the elimination of our union president's position, their feelings seem to be validated. I hope that after speaking out honestly and from my heart, there is no retaliation against me. I am one person, but I'm not alone. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Rutsky, parents, and our many colleagues that are here tonight with us. My name is Debbie Reese, and I've loved being a music teacher here in West Orange for the past 9 years. In response to an email addressed to the WOEA from the board president and Mr. Rutsky, I'd like to respectfully respond. With regards to change, I think we can all agree that it can be a difficult process. However, I do not believe that we as a collective are adverse to change. Rather, we understand it plays a vital role in addressing the ever-changing and evolving needs of our students as we help prepare them for the future. I do, however, believe that too much change in a relatively short amount of time results in a change saturation, a point I believe that we are at, and one in which any change loses its efficacy. I'm just one person, but I don't believe I'm alone in these thoughts. I know that at the elementary level this year, in addition to the new Google Docs platform, online lesson planning, and a revised SGO format, teachers have also been inundated with a new language arts program that includes scope and sequence, benchmark assessments, ongoing PARCC training, and a new IEP format, just to name a few. I believe that many, if not all of these changes are necessary to keep up with educational goals and demands, but the swift implementation of all of the above has made it impossible to successfully present them to our students. Furthermore, with every new or revised program introduced, the facilitation of these programs required teachers to attend professional development that resulted in being out of the classroom for many days. In fact, an informal survey of the teachers in my building found that many teachers have been away from their classrooms on an average of 10 to 15 days this year alone. Perhaps one solution could be that we build more half-days into our schedule, our school schedule, so that the remaining contract day could be used for these necessary training sessions. I believe this would also save the schools thousands of dollars by reducing the amount of substitutes that have been required for these training sessions. I'd like to reiterate we are not afraid of or adverse to change. However, I feel these changes need to be executed slowly and in much smaller chunks so that their effects may be fully realized. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Jessica Spring-Morano, and I'm a graduate of West Orange Schools, as well as a fourth grade teacher at Redwood Elementary since the fall of 1999. My parents are residents of West Orange for 42 years. My passion ever since I was a little girl has been teaching, and it still is today, even as I've become a wife and a mother. When I graduated from Rutgers, I went on many interviews and received job offers in towns such as Caldwell and Ridgewood. I accepted the position at Redwood because I wanted to give back to my hometown and instill in my students a sense of belonging, community, civic responsibility, an appreciation for diversity, and a lifelong love of learning. Those ideals are still in my heart and a part of everything that I do each day. In the 17 years I've been employed by the West Orange Board of Education, I've had an excellent attendance record. I love to teach, and I adore the children I work with. But despite an excellent record, this past Monday I was docked a day's pay. This was due to the fact that our original flight home out of Denver was canceled, along with over 700 other flights, due to a massive snowstorm. As soon as I found out, I took all the necessary steps to ensure coverage for my classroom. Shortly thereafter, I received an email from Human Resources that my emergency day was denied as per the stipulations in my contract. I was told that the day didn't qualify for a personal day because the days immediately preceding or following the days we have off are blackout days. I get that. So what did this situation, an act of God, qualify as? Apparently, the only qualification was a dock unpaid day, despite almost 100 unused sick days in my bank. It sent a message. I'm not a valued player on this team. I am not an hourly employee. I make a salary, a take-home salary that is steadily decreasing over the last few years to continually increasing costs of health care, pension, and tax contributions. I wish to let you know that I give of my time far beyond contracted time. I never think of the contract when I meet with parents before required sign-in or after hours to accommodate their schedules. I never think of the contract when I attend literacy nights, math nights, and student concerts. The contract doesn't cross my mind when I work at the Redwood Carnival in June every year. The last thing on my mind is my contract when I prepare my lessons, grade essays, reports, and tests, communicate with parents, post photos and class stories on the Class Dojo website, or set up my classroom during the last 2 weeks of August. My point is that the vast majority of teachers work far beyond the confines of contracted hours. Yet recently it seems we are continuously taken for granted and denigrated in the media, disrespected by our governor, and in some ways by our administration. Could you imagine what the school district would be like if we only worked the hours required in the contract? You would see a major shift. You would see a major shift happen in this town. Many exciting and worthwhile programs, events, projects, and initiatives would cease. There are veteran teachers leaving this profession. 1 in 3 new teachers are leaving within the first 2 years of the job. Expectations are unreasonable, and we're not being treated fairly. As this continues, our exceptional schools and our ranking within the state and this nation will most certainly drop. I implore you to consider what is happening here in West Orange. Please don't allow an environment that undervalues teachers to exist here. Just as we must see our students as individuals and value their strengths and attend to their needs, please see our faculty as individuals. Let's go back to the time when we collaborated and our voices were heard. A future in which there is a sense of community and a value for educators is a future I want to be a part of here in West Orange. I am one person, but I am not alone.
I know there's going to be a lot more teachers here who'd like to speak. I'm going to ask you to please note the clock, the 3 minutes. I really don't want to stop you mid-sentence, but please just kind of keep an eye on that, okay? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maureen Donahue, and I've been teaching at Redwood School for 13 years. I've always felt blessed to work in such a dynamic district with such high-quality teachers and staff. The overall feeling I get when I reflect on my career is of joy due to the achievement of my students, the invaluable skills I've learned, and the lifelong relationships I've cultivated. My first class of kindergartners is graduating high school this year, and I could not be prouder. However, we are here tonight to make sure you are aware of how significantly the climate in this school district has changed. The administration says we are highly respected professionals, but actions speak louder than words. Not only do we feel that our time is no longer respected, we also feel undervalued as professionals and human beings. There is no question that education has changed dramatically within the past several years. Our creative license in the classroom has been shorted. We spend an unreasonable amount of time collecting data during times in which meaningful instruction could be taking place. Administration has claimed to understand the pressures of all these initiatives, but all we have seen on our end is an increasing amount of arbitrary demands that deplete the little time we have left. Mr. Rutsky says the district is doing everything it can to ensure quality versus quantity. I have yet to see evidence of this. I used to be able to use my 1 prep period a day to actually prepare my instruction, and maybe even use the restroom if there's time. Now I'm bogged down with counterproductive paperwork. One example of this is our new lesson planning system. We know the importance and necessity of lesson planning. The aspect we take issue with is the way our district is using the system. We are being asked to put an inordinate amount of information with our lesson plans. I always thought they were meant for me, that I planned my lessons in a way that was meaningful to me, that helped me to be prepared. I can't even use this format as it's printed. I actually need to make notes to follow on top of what must be submitted. A committee of teachers sat down with Mr. Rutsky to speak to him about this. We explained that elementary teachers are teaching 8 lessons each day, which would equate to 40 lessons to plan and put online each week. We wondered why we had to include so much non-essential information in our plans. Mr. Rutsky agreed at the time that we were right about certain things. There were modifications made to the elementary plan that allowed us to feel confident as we left that meeting that our concerns had been heard. However, much to our disappointment, it wasn't long before the faculty received an email stating that not only did every facet of the repetitive lesson plan template need to be included, but now more would be added next year. If our time is valued and there is a plan to ensure quality over quantity, this action by the administration does not reflect that. Most demoralizing, though, was the fact that we met to express our concerns and were completely misled and rejected. Sure, we're concerned about how time-consuming this task has become, but really it is the complete dismissal of our concerns as professionals that brings us here tonight. We have to counter the administration's claim that we are highly respected teachers and that our suggestions are seriously considered before the finalization of new initiatives. I see my time is running up, so I'm just going to say that I am not alone, that I am one person, but I am not alone.
Good evening. Oren Levin, 5 Corwell Circle, West Orange. I just had 2 quick questions for the board. Today, a couple of friends have mentioned that they've started seeing ads on some of the school buses. I have not personally seen this, but I wanted to know, is this something the board has started? And if not, can the board look into why some of the parents are reporting they're seeing ads on the school buses? The second question I have is regards to the honors program in the in the middle school. I have a 5th grader who very eagerly took the honors qualification testing, has been bouncing up and down, waiting very impatiently for the results. I recognize that not all students are going to get into the honors programs. What does the board, what is the school district doing to ensure that the students who don't get in don't lose that level of enthusiasm? Thank you.
Great. Hello, my name is Matt Salzman. I'm a teacher at West Orange for 17 years. I am also a union member and the chairman of the WAEA committee here at the high school. Right now, many teachers feel that they are under attack, unsupported, disrespected, and fearful for their own jobs. This is not a happy staff empowered to do their best work. Our members feel that there is a risk of retribution for speaking out about the recent changes and the impacts that they have on the education on our students. Don't let this happen. Please listen to the voices of the teachers who make the district great and work to keep West Orange schools strong. I'm only one person, but I am not alone.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Kelleher, and I am an employee, and I am in my 10th year of teaching at West Orange High School. I am here to speak on the importance and necessity of the staff's voice when it comes to decisions made regarding West Orange Public Schools. More specifically, the morale among teachers at the high school is very low. One of the reasons for low morale is that teachers are not being asked for their professional input on a consistent and collaborative basis on many initiatives. For example, our lesson plan requirements have grown this year, and we have been told that there will be additional requirements next year. At no point have teachers been asked how the new and next year's proposed requirements will improve our planning, classroom instruction, and most importantly, meet the needs of our students. We are being micromanaged, and this demonstrates a lack of confidence in our ability to plan and be the professionals that we are. There are numerous examples: quarterly exams, data collection, data reports, curricula to be discussed, where our professional expertise is not being consulted, again, on a consistent and collaborative manner. The list goes on, and our job has grown and grown with responsibilities that take time away from our ability to meet the needs of our students and collaborate with our colleagues. I love being a teacher, and I am proud to say that 11 years into the profession, my students are my center. I became a teacher because I love mathematics, but I also want to give back. I hope that speaking out honestly and from my heart, there will be no retaliation against me or my colleagues. And I also hope that this evening's meeting leads to a better understanding of our concerns, which leads to the best learning environment for our students. I'm just one person, but I am not alone.
Good evening. Members of the board, thank you for your time. My name is Karen Davis, and I teach math at the high school in the special education department. I have taught in this district for 25 years, and I've been very happy to serve the kids here. I hope I have done a good job. My concern is the recent change in the work atmosphere. Recently, teachers are often kept in the dark about pressing issues, not consulted on best practices for solving those issues, and having new procedures forced on them at the last minute. Teachers want to work together to come up with best practices for solving educational issues, but recently we find that no consistent professional dialogue is offered. Instead, often, procedures are being imposed on us, and those procedures do not always best serve the students. We are being forced to do things that are inefficient and ineffective. We are being forced to do things that are time-consuming and wasteful. When we teachers are forced to follow inefficient and ineffective procedures, it undercuts our primary role of serving students by wasting time that we could be spending helping students or developing new educational activities. The taxpayers of West Orange pay our salaries, for which we are very grateful. But if we are not consulted on best practices and are instead forced to follow inefficient and ineffective procedures, then students are not receiving the best possible education, and the taxpayers who pay our salaries are not receiving the best possible value for their money. We teachers would like to be consulted on best professional practices so that we can give the kids and taxpayers of West Orange what they deserve: the best possible educational value for hard-earned money. Thank you for listening. I am one person, but I am not alone.
My name's Jan DeRosa, 36 Bangor Road. I was born and raised in West Orange, and I'm a product of this school system. I've been a resident taxpayer since 1996. Professionally, one of the happiest days of my life was when I was approved for hire by the West Orange Board of Education in 1999. There's a lot to be said about having a career you love. However, a great deal has changed in the last few years. Morale is at an all-time low. Though I am told that I am appreciated and respected, the actions of the district do not reinforce those sentiments. And I am just one person, and I am not alone. We are heading in the wrong direction, but it's not too late to reverse our course. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak without fear of retaliation.
Hi, good evening. My name is David Sayre, and I've been a social studies teacher at the high school for 18 years. I've been prompted to speak by an email that was sent to all the faculty on March 18th. Two issues, among many others, stand out in my mind from my reading of that email. Both have to do with what was the proposed elimination of the high school's dean's position. Supposedly that's off the table right now, but I still feel that it raises very important issues for us to consider. The first issue raised by the proposal to cut one of the dean's jobs is that, despite protestations in the email to the contrary, the proposed cut does, in fact, and would, in fact, threaten the security of our students and the overall sense of safety that we now have in our building. Over the last several years, our deans have done a tremendous job working to bring down the number of student fights in our school. 10 years ago, fights were commonplace at the school. I don't know the exact statistics on this, but we are at the point in recent years where student violence is extremely rare, as it should be. There are many reasons for this, but one key factor is the effectiveness of our deans, who know our students well, have good relationships with them, and can often find out about and resolve student conflicts before a violent incident occurs. New door locks and security cameras, new exterior lighting, new electronic security programs, they're all important, and they're all welcomed and supported by the faculty. But they are not what prevent potential fights and violence inside our schools. Effective, engaged professional deans do. So I just wanted to say that so that isn't something that comes up again as an issue, or even if the issue isn't dead yet, I'm not sure. The second issue is that the proposed elimination of a dean's position at the high school gives the appearance that our elected WOEA president, who happens to be one of the deans, is possibly being targeted. Perhaps this is not the case, and I hope not. But the level of morale is now so low and mistrust is so high that many teachers perceived it that way. Neither the WOEA president nor the WOEA members, many of whom you see here today, should be threatened, either explicitly or implicitly, for standing up for the high quality of education that we all create together here in West Orange. The WOEA is not the Board of Education's nor the administration's enemy. We are the people who dedicate our professional lives day in and day out to helping West Orange students develop into effective citizens, responsible, caring young adults who will lead successful and productive lives and continue to make West Orange the wonderful community that it is. I'm just one person, but I'm not alone. Please don't attack us. Work with us as partners in educating the young people of West Orange. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Maniscalco. I'm the president of the West Orange Education Association and serve as the dean of students at the high school. I wish to thank our membership and supporters from the community for attending tonight's meeting and for speaking out to the board tonight. Our members are dedicated professionals who give their all for our schools, for our students, and for our community. They're committed to excellence in every way. You've heard them speak again and again tonight of the importance of respect. Respect takes many forms, and as you have clearly heard, our members are concerned about more than a few measures that they see as less than respectful. Respect means allowing, no, encouraging those with opposite opinions to speak freely and without fear of retaliation. And yes, that even applies to association representatives advocating for their membership. Respect means actually hearing what your stakeholders have to say, not merely letting them speak and then claiming consensus around an idea that they did not support. Respect means not overburdening staff members with make-work tasks, but giving them the time and opportunity to collaborate as professionals for the betterment of our schools. Respect means not accusing staff members who have been ill or needed to take a personal day of being unprofessional. Respect means not reducing staff members or students to mere numbers, but recognizing the unique qualities possessed and often unquantifiable contributions they make every day. We trust that you've heard these concerns and that you will take them to heart. We need you to do so in order to calm the waters and start to heal so that our schools can once again be positive, productive, and cooperative for students and staff alike. Together, you and us, together, we can move in a better direction. We can do amazing things for our students and our town. But the cornerstone of all progress is respect. And as you've heard from many experienced and varied voices, it is sorely lacking at this point. The staff is ready to work tirelessly together with our partners in the administration, with the board, with our families, and with our greater community, so long as respect is restored to the West Orange Public Schools. I'm only one person, but I am not alone.
Thank you. First, just to start with the parents before we get back to the staff. One parent came up tonight. We're going to address Mr. Levin's concerns, and then we'll move on to what everybody else was talking about tonight. Mr. Rutsky, can you talk about the honors in the middle school and keeping the level of enthusiasm for those students who do not make it?
Yeah, I think that's one of the important pieces that where the guidance department comes in, child study team members come in, principals, assistant principals come in when students do not make honors, and they were very excited or thought they would to sit down and have that conversation with them. So that's something, Mr. Levin, that we will be taking care of.
Mr. Calavano, the ads on the school buses, I know years ago, I think in 2009, I had the policy changed to allow for school bus ads just for any advertising. The Essex County Regional, who has ads on the buses? I didn't know anything about it.
I don't either.
Okay.
I don't either, so I'll look into that.
It's ESC?
ESC?
Okay. I do know when the law was created a couple of years ago, the school district actually is supposed to get some funds from that. So we'll look into that one. Thank you. We also have a fleet of, I don't know how many buses, 20 buses or something like that. And I know there was actually mixed reviews by some people on the opportunity to put advertising on the school buses. Some people saw it as a distraction. Some people saw it generally as a generator of revenue. But again, we'll look into it. Mr. Levin, I didn't know anything about it, and I guess nobody else up here did either. Nope. Okay, fine. Well, first, I want to thank the staff for coming out tonight. Obviously, we knew that staff was coming. And I think from the comments and by our actions tonight that you saw that the board, you know, the preliminary budget was just that, the preliminary budget. And I'm talking now about staffing, not about the respect and all the other issues that were brought up tonight. But again, we appreciate all of us, I think, with the exception, your son's in the high school now, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay. We had him come through the high school. Mine graduated 2009, 2013. Sandy's are older. Ronnie's are in the middle of it. Herb's kids did not attend the public schools, but I certainly have been around for at least 20 years now from starting PASS in 1997 to know, you make that stop, Lauren? Thank you. Okay. To know, yes, ma'am. I know the difference in the climate at the high school from the last 20 years and what has occurred. So the board certainly appreciates the work product of the deans, of the security staff, and we certainly understand. And again, it was a recommendation because we were grasping at straws to try to find money. But regardless, it was not personal. Believe it or not, it was not personal. It was just a thought that the board quickly dismissed. Similarly to the Italian program. I mean, it was just, no, we can't do that. Let's find a way to make it work. The rest of the comments tonight, and I'll let my colleagues, of course, chime in, and then Mr. Rutsky will speak. I have to say it's news. I mean, I've been attending, for instance, it's news to the board. Okay? We are not in the trenches. We are not in the classrooms. We are not in the hallways. I am on the DEAC committee meeting with Mark and some of the members who are here tonight, and I've never witnessed in the 4 years that I'm sitting on the DEAC committee and the 2 with the current administration any disagreements or confrontations. In fact, I found from my chair that it was a very open dialogue. I know with the Teach New Jersey Act or Achieve New Jersey Act, the requirements for Marzano, the requirements for the lesson plans, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And I do know, and Mark sits on the committee with me, that the DEAC committee is working very hard to try to get something different in place for the evaluation system come September, because all of us at the table at the DEAC committee, Mr. Rutsky, the union members, the principals who sit there, we know that it's a bust. I mean, it's just, Mr. Rutsky had stated that most districts did not choose Marzano. They chose McCrell, Danielson, other models. Somehow, when we formed this committee 4 or 5 years ago, we came to that consensus to pick this plan, Marzano, and we now have reached out, and one of the members, and I can't remember the name of the teacher, they brought something to us from Washington State, and it is much more user-friendly than whatever is the prototype from Marzano. So understand that that will change, that part of it will change. What I've heard tonight about respect, lack of respect, inclusion, working with the administration, that is what is news to us. And I'm going to ask Mr. Rutsky to respond. We all do know, and I'm sorry, I forgot your name right here in blue. You spoke, change is hard, and we all do acknowledge that. And sometimes change is good, sometimes change is difficult, and sometimes change just stinks. So let's hear from the administration. But first I'm going to ask my colleagues if they'd like to respond before the floor is turned over to Mr. Rutsky. Anybody? Irv?
Sure. First, I want to thank everyone for coming out and speaking. I know personally, I encourage, and I think I can speak for everyone on the board, we do encourage everyone to have an open dialogue. It's very, very important. We are collectively concerned about the over-testing, but some of these things are not in our control. We know that they're mandated. It's the entire system is changing. But I want to leave with one point, which is rest assured that we won't tolerate any retaliation. Perception sometimes in people's view is reality, but we do have budgetary concerns. We can't escape that. It's always difficult. We all know that. We live it both from a town and individually. We do. It's not easy. It's never easy. And, you know, there's a perception. Sometimes perception's reality, but it's not the case here. We did everything we could to keep everyone's position. And we really hope that you can see that we tried and we did succeed. And we will, as a board, and I know myself, will speak to the administration and try to get the communication lines open. Thank you.
Ms. Mordecai?
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight and for sharing with us. I have to say that it's news to me. I'm sure it's news to all my colleagues as well, quite a few of the comments that you made. In particular, I don't know how it was communicated, but it's really tough to hear that someone wasn't paid for a day that that their husband died and they had to go to the funeral. So I'm not sure how that was communicated to the administration. So I hate to believe that happened the way it happened. So I'm going to ask the administration to look into some of the particular instances that were mentioned. The faculty member, I don't remember her name now, who has perfect attendance, who was stuck in a snowstorm. Oh yes, thank you. I just don't know what the lines of communication was, whenever she called in, who spoke to whom, but I'm going to ask the administration to look into it on behalf of the board, all the stories that we've heard tonight. I'm shocked. I had no idea morale was low or that you feel disrespected, and so it's good. It's good that you came out and spoke with us tonight. So we'll look into it and we'll definitely get back to you. That's the best I can say tonight, because as was mentioned before, we didn't know. Thank you.
Mr. Charles.
Thank you, Madam President. Personally, I don't see the WOEA, the supervisors, the directors, or the principals, or any district employee, for that matter, as an enemy. This has to be, in my opinion, a collaboration if we're going to push this district forward and to the heights that I feel it can reach. So you have my commitment, I'm sure the commitment from the board, my colleagues, that I'm going to work to ensure that we improve that relationship, or we as the board oversee that and make sure that the the relationship with the staff and with the teachers is held in the highest regard.
Mr. Robertson.
Like my colleagues, I was shocked. You know, my children have personally benefited from your dedication. My daughter in Mount Pleasant, my son at the high school who went through Liberty and Edison. And I know that you put in an abundant number of extra hours. I know that you pay out of pocket sometimes for supplies. Not sometimes, it's kind of a regular thing. I know that you give selflessly out of real love and real caring. And Jessica, I don't even know if you remember meeting me at your parents' doorstep, and I remember you taking time, my son and I were going around selling Scout popcorn, and you engaged him in a conversation, and he was just so, it's like, wow, but it was just natural. It wasn't, it's just what you do. And I heard two areas of great concern. One is that while I know it was all well-intentioned, and I know we're up here signing off and stuff as it goes along, that there were so many new processes and steps and standards and systems that were implemented simultaneously, that there's a major change management challenge. It's not that you don't expect change. You expect change. You welcome change. You know that there's going to be changes in administration. There's going to be changes in standards. Every time politicians at the state level want to change something and maybe a corporation gets involved, I'm not going to mention any, but the change is constant. But it's how we then manage it at this level and all together with the same goal. We all have the same goal. How can we help our students to have the best possible education? And I said earlier that you're the product. You are the product. We don't exist without you. We have to listen to you. And so that goes to the other area. There's the change management issue and all the multiple changes. Then there's the relationship issue. And that goes to, and I was hearing, are you being heard? Are you being sought out as professionals? Are your opinions being sought out? And even when they're not being sought out, are they being heard when you express them, when a new change, a new process, a new program, a new anything is introduced? And, being heard, being engaged for feedback, and feeling valued and not micromanaged. And whether it's, the message was consistent. You spoke in one voice tonight, and the messages were very, very consistent. And I am so sorry that it's come to that point. But the good news is that the board hears you loud and clear. Thank you.
Ms. Mordecai?
Thank you. I just want to add one thing. I know I speak for my colleagues as well. We truly do thank Mr. Cristiano for his service. I'm not sure at what point we're going to celebrate him for his 27 years, but we do appreciate his service, and it was definitely a budgetary item.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Rutsky.
Two things. Number one, the most important one from any leadership role is to take time to reflect when you're listening to people. So that's what I'll do. And I took a lot of very clear notes. And it's important to step back, evaluate, and determine what next steps are. So with that, the second piece is I don't want you to confuse disagreement with disrespect in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, I hear you. I'm just making it clear. I'll step back. I'll take a look at things, listen to what your comments were, think about your comments, and then we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutsky. As my colleagues mentioned this evening, we are genuine in when we say that we were not aware of the morale issues to the degree that you have presented this evening. We do not micromanage the district. We are not in the classrooms. Most of us don't even have kids in the district any longer because we're old, and our kids are older. And so I don't get notes anymore. Jessica was my son's teacher. There are teachers here tonight who have had my kids. Ms. Passerini, hello. Stacy Forte. I mean, but my kids are 21 and 25, and I'm not in the district. Sandy's are even older.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
But we appreciate
I'm still 25.
Of course. But we do appreciate, and I think from gathering the message and listening to you this evening, change will be coming, and it'll be for the better for all. So I thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? No? All right.
I'll second.
Hold on. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.